everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this month, and this is going to be the horoscopes for the 12 rising signs for June 2025. Welcome back. It's nice to have you guys here. I'm excited to chat about what's going to be happening for the month ahead. If you're new here, it's nice to meet you. My name is Candice Marie. I'm a Western astrologer. I also focus on evolutionary astrology, and I like to implement the use of tarot as well as Sabian symbols into my work. I hope you guys enjoy this presentation for your horoscopes for the month ahead. But before we get into that, I always like to chat a little bit about the offerings for the month. Nothing really major here. You guys are going to see at some point at the end of May, beginning of June, I am going to have my Saturn in Aries workshop, my boot camp that I'm going to be putting out for you guys. So make sure you head over to my website and sign up for my newsletter so you're alerted as to when that becomes available. If it's your first Saturn return, if you're like anywhere between 27 and 29, it can be really helpful. If it's your second go round, equally. And if you just want to learn more about Saturn in this sign for the next 2.5 years, I highly recommend taking my webinar. I'll make sure I shoot you guys an email when that becomes available for purchase on my website. Besides that, if you guys like my work, you can support me in a number of different ways. Honestly, just by giving me a thumbs up or leaving me a comment or sharing my work, it's really helpful because any engagement with the channel really helps the channel grow. We are inching closer and closer to 50,000 subscribers. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody. But I also have memberships on my channel. So I'm a full-time content creator. I put out 4 videos a week. I try to make them as, long format as possible, lots of information and teaching astrology along the way while we talk about what's kind of coming up in the future for the collective as well as us personally. So if you guys like my work, consider joining my memberships. I have 3 different levels. And if you join level 3, not only do you support me and get a shout out, but you also get a reading with me during one of my live readings, one Friday out of every month. Equally, if you guys like this, I try to kind of create almost like the same setting as if you were to have a one-on-one Zoom reading with me in my digital office space. If you guys want to give me a tip and you're feeling generous, you can scan the QR code and you can tip the cosmic tip jar. I appreciate that. We always get a couple of those every month. So thank you guys for your generosity. And like I said, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed and click the bell button below so you get alerts as to when I have new videos. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. We have live readings on Fridays. I'm here most every Friday, although the very first Friday we may not be here. So I'm just giving you guys that heads up now. But I'm on Central Time, so I always go live at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That's going to be 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast and 7 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. Make sure you guys check the community tab. We always post a link before we do the readings so you can get in the queue. And we alternate between tarot and astrology each and every week. And if you guys would like to book a personal reading with me, I'd love to work with you. I do natal charts. I do solar returns. We can pick election dates for weddings, book launches. I help do relocation astrology for people who want to travel or they want to move, and so much more. So if you guys want to get a reading, head over to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can click the book a reading page, and I am now booking in September and October of 2025. So if you know that you have a birthday coming up in the fall or the end of the year, highly recommend booking your reading so you can get in for your birthday. We also offer gift cards too. So if you are wanting to give a gift of a reading, it can be an awesome gift. We do instant digital gift cards that you can send to your friends and family, and they can use that credit to book a reading with me. For all of my offers, including my courses and my products, make sure you head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. All right, guys. Well, thank you for the shameless plug. We are going to move on to the next slide where we're going to talk all about the transits that catch my eye. So if you're new here, what I like to do is pick out a snapshot of the transits that I think are going to be the most important for the month ahead. I'm going to be analyzing this in terms of how it's going to be impacting the collective, and then I'm going to apply that to each and every one of the 12 rising signs. So we always talk about the ingresses. This is when planets change signs and they're going to be moving to a different part of your chart. We also talk about what planets are retrograde, the new and the full moon, and then the other list of transits that are going to be taking place. If you guys would like, take a snapshot or a screenshot of this slide so you can save it. You guys can also look in the link in the description below. You'll be able to find all of these transits there, so that way you guys can copy it and save it. Or you can book with me and get one of my personal transit calendars. Well, it'll do it all for you. And you can upload that directly into your digital calendar, whether you have it on your iPhone or if you have it on Google. So it's just an easy way to do that. But whatever works for you guys. So this is what I'm going to be working off of. When we move to the rising sign screens, I'll be going through these transits and talking about what it means for you personally. Now, in a nutshell, when I look at June of 2025, the general overall themes are definitely going to be definitely about like emotional expansion and kind of learning some of our more practical limits. Obviously, Jupiter is going to make its grand entrance into the sign of Cancer this month. So when that happens, we're going to see the third of 3 Jupiter square Saturn transit. So if you go back to the summer of 2024, if you go back to right around Christmas of 2024, we saw Jupiter in Gemini square Saturn in Pisces. Now we're going to see the final square between Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Aries. So this is going to be highlighting basically a desire for emotional growth. And, Saturn obviously in the sign of Aries is going to be demanding personal discipline. Obviously, Neptune is there as well. So it's going to be warning against any personal illusions. And we're really needing to balance some of our dreams with reality. Now, we're also going to see themes revolving around stability versus change. And I think a lot of this is because Venus is going to be moving through Taurus. We are going to see, Mars coming into a square with Uranus. And this is really going to pit comfort against sudden shifts. My advice is just to embrace innovation without losing your ground and try to ground out your energy whenever you can and roll with the punches. I am looking forward to more nurturing communication. We're going to see a whole spread of planets that are going to be moving into the sign of Cancer. Obviously, Mercury will be moving through Cancer and then through Leo. And with the Cancer heavy transits, it's really going to be, I think, emphasizing heartfelt expression. So it's important this month to really speak from the heart and really avoid any defensiveness or any ego. We are going to see lots of opportunity for taking action and precision. Mars will be entering into the sign of Virgo. So this is going to give us the opportunity, I think, to really focus on getting down to the details. Plus, we're going to see a Sagittarius full moon, and there's going to be a mutable square happening, really encouraging us to take practical steps and be more kind of adaptable. I think we're going to be focusing more on what we can control. And there's going to be major transformation going on revolving around truth. I think, Pluto will continue its retrograde. So we're going to kind of dig deep in the Aquarius area of our chart. And collectively, we're also going through some major changes. We're also going to see Mercury's opposition to Pluto, which is going to trigger the South Node in Virgo. This is really going to be pushing for deep introspection as well as honest communication. But definitely power struggles are likely going to arise during this time. So broadly, what to expect in June, a month of emotional highs and lows. Obviously, opportunities for growth in relationships, home life, as well as personal goals. The Cancerian energy is really going to be fostering, nurturing, and connection. But we're going to have to be focusing on the Saturn-Neptune squares, which will create some kind of tension, urging us to have lots of clarity as well as balance. I'm expecting breakthroughs in self-awareness, creative projects, as well as family dynamics this month. Just stay grounded, make sure you're not overly idealizing things or acting impulsively. And truth be told, with some of the conjunctions we're seeing with Jupiter, it's possible that June could be the luckiest month of 2025. So when I break down these transits, I'm going to be going in order in terms of dates. Obviously, you guys see the ingresses of when planets change signs. You see the Pluto retrograde. You know that we have 2 lunations, but just to kind of keep this a little bit more seamless, we're going to go in order here, and I will tackle the new and the full moon at the end. We're going to start the month on June the 5th. So we're going to see on June the 5th that Venus is going to be moving into the sign of Taurus. Very significant for my Taurus and my Libra risings because your chart ruler is on the move. So Venus, obviously planet of love and money, as well as beauty or, anything kind of connected to sensuality is going to be moving into her home sign of Taurus. So this is really going to emphasize sensuality, comfort, as well as material pleasures. This transit's going to be about encouraging indulgence in life's kind of simple joys. So think like gourmet meals or maybe cozy aesthetics, more stability in relationships, self-care. However, Taurus is a fixed sign, so its fixed nature can lead to some stubbornness and resistance in terms of change when it comes to our values, matters of the heart, as well as our wallet. Now, this is great for beauty. This is great for anything kind of connected to aesthetics. So we love to see Taurus, either Venus in Taurus, Libra, or Pisces. So if you're somebody who's been wanting to make some aesthetic changes, it can be a better time for that. I'm expecting just that the energy of Venus in the sign is going to be very grounding, and it's going to prioritize security as well as loyalty. We might find that people are craving tangible expressions of love, as well as maybe focusing on building financial stability. And I would just say watch for possessiveness that can be coming up, or over-attachment to your comfort zones. Now, on the 8th of the month, we're going to see Mercury ingress into Cancer. So we want to follow Mercury transits very closely because it's tied to the South Node in Virgo, where we're kind of releasing and letting go of kind of worn out ways of living, where we're too critical. And in this case, where we're doing some emotional house cleaning, I think. So when Mercury ingresses into Cancer, Gemini and Virgo risings, pay attention. Your chart ruler is on the move. Equally for my Cancer and Cancer risings, you guys have quite a few planets going into your sign this month, so all eyes are on you. Now, the meaning of this is that Mercury, planet of communication, is moving into the intuitive sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon. So this is going to really shift conversations towards emotions, family, as well as home or security themes. Thoughts become more nurturing, but also subjective in this sign. And I think people might be more inclined to speak from the heart rather than using logic. Now, I'm expecting deep empathic dialogues between people. I think that, sensitivity to criticism can definitely be coming up, and it can lead to some misunderstandings. Right off the bat, when Mercury goes into Cancer, it's going to immediately start coming into a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So this is a time, I think, for journaling. It can be wonderful for storytelling, connecting with loved ones and family, organizing your home. But be mindful of the more kind of mood-driven communication. On the 9th of the month, we're going to see Jupiter ingress into Cancer. So for those of you guys who are Cancer, Sun, Moon, or risings, this is really positive for you. Equally for all of the water signs, as well as Sag and Pisces rising, your guys' chart ruler is on the move. Jupiter is in its exaltation in Cancer. This is a beautiful place to have it. But like I said, unfortunately, part of what we see is an immediate square to both Saturn as well as Neptune in the sign of Aries. So there is both this kind of like restriction, Saturn, Neptune revolving around our dreams, and then this optimism and wanting to grow. While Jupiter is exalted, we see that, there is some debilitation having Saturn in Aries. So in order for Saturn to lead and initiate and start new things, especially if there's any emotional growth, development with home and family, we have to really be clear when it comes to our vision. Now, back to Jupiter in Cancer. This is the planet, obviously, of expansion and abundance. So having Jupiter go into this sign is going to be amplifying themes of emotional growth, home, as well as nurturing. I'm expecting in 2025 and 2026 a major baby boom. We're going to see lots of people moving, building houses, developing their homes and families, getting in touch with their roots, their ancestors, and potentially even exploring, living in new areas or living abroad. So we're going to see lots of themes revolving around that. I think the transit really in itself kind of fosters optimism as well as intuition, and there's like a desire to protect what matters the most. In terms of what I'm expecting, a wave of emotional generosity and opportunities to expand family ties, home life, or inner security. However, Jupiter does have a tendency to amplify, and it can lead to emotional overwhelm. So we can see that there can be overindulgence in kind of comfort-seeking behaviors. I think the Saturn-Neptune square is going to kind of keep us in check. And by the time we get to the end of June, we're starting to kind of come out of that square. Jupiter will spend the next year in this particular sign. Now, on the 15th of the month, we're going to see Mars and Leo come into a square with Uranus and Taurus. And this is definitely one of the more disruptive energies that we're going to see in the month of June. What this means is that Mars, the planet of action, passion, and desire, is going to be clashing in a square to Uranus and Taurus, the planet of rebellion, the planet that's been shaking up the planet, as well as the markets. And Uranus, does want to kind of pivot and kind of shift a little bit. It does rebel, and it does not like being in Taurus, where Taurus prefers stability. This square is going to be sparking sudden changes, impulsive decisions, or breakthroughs in creative or financial pursuits. Likely, we're going to see some major market volatility that's going to be involving the bond markets, crypto, as well as finances. With Mars leading the opening square, I am anticipating this is going to be a day that we are going to see some major shifts when it comes to stocks and certain cryptocurrencies. This is a very volatile energy. It can definitely lead to like kind of exciting innovations, but also disruptive conflicts, especially when our ego gets in the way. People might be acting bold, especially when it comes to their desires, but it can also be seen as reckless. So we want to channel this energy into more creative risks rather than ego-driven battles. And remember, no crying in the casino if you guys are gambling or taking risks, because it's going to go one way or the other. Now, also on the 15th, we're going to see Jupiter come into the square with Saturn in Aries. So we talked a little bit about how Jupiter expands, Saturn restricts. So, Jupiter is not in the superior angle of the square. Saturn is. Saturn's kind of squaring on the left-hand side. Jupiter is trying to kind of open up into the square. So in a way, we kind of get snaked early on, I think, with the Jupiter ingress, but it is what it is. And Jupiter's energy, because it's going to be clashing with Saturn, it's going to create that tension for growth, and it's going to maybe not feel as positive and optimistic at first. It's going to feel like it's being challenged and that there is definitely a lot of requirements or red tape to cut through, or needing to apply more discipline in the area of Aries in our chart. Certainly with Saturn and Neptune and Aries, there can be a sense of self-doubt. Can I do this? Is it going to work? Am I going to be able to handle it? Am I mature enough to kind of make it through? And, Cancer's energy is more emotional focus, where Aries is more about the drive for independence. So it's going to be highlighting conflicts between nurturing others and asserting our personal goals. What do I want versus what my family wants, right? That's going to be kind of like the general theme. Where do I want to live? Where do I want to put down roots? What is going to be best for me? And is that going to be best for my family? And am I actually growing and evolving from the past? Sometimes we have to go back in order to go forward. And that's something else that I think that we kind of learn from the fourth house in Cancer, that there can be lessons that can be learned from past kind of places we've lived, past family experiences, things that we've done that can make us realize that we can grow and evolve from the past and that we don't have to keep repeating it, right? So we're going to be envisioning a new path forward with Saturn and Neptune and Aries. Essentially, I expect that there's going to be a reality check that's going to come up in mid-June that's really going to be testing our patience. Opportunities for growth may feel blocked at first, but responsibility will rise. We will see that we can move out of self-doubt, and success is really going to come from kind of balancing our emotional needs with some kind of practical action. Now, on the 17th of the month, Mars is going to be ingressing into the sign of Virgo. So Mars is on the move. Keep in mind, the South Node is in Virgo. And so at some point, we're going to see those two meet up, but that's not going to be for like another month or so. This means that Mars is moving into a sign that's going to be more analytical. Virgo, ruled by Mercury, right? It is an earth sign. It is a mutable sign, so it's flexible and changeable. And I actually like this. I think that it can be good because this is really going to channel, Mars, I got to do this, I got to do it now, energy into precision, into service, into productivity, into finding jobs, into taking better care of our health, getting into the gym, that kind of stuff. So this transit's really going to be favoring detailed work, also health-conscious routines that can definitely lead to better health and better habits. But keep in mind with the South Node there is a sense of needing to be aware of nitpicking as well as being overly critical. Now, Mars is also the dispositor of Saturn as well as Neptune and Aries, and it's going to make an inconjunct or a quincunx to these placements. So something I've been thinking about is are we seeing ourselves clearly? Are some of us being too critical? Are some of us kind of lacking that sense of self-awareness? And are we seeing some health stuff that's kind of popping up? Are we having conflicts and issues and disagreements with people at work because we're not self-aware or we're not sober, or we're showing up late to work and we're making mistakes? So some of these things can kind of come about from some of those quincunx. I would say with this transit, this is going to be about taking a shift towards practical action and problem solving. And I also feel like people will feel more so motivated to organize, refine, and improve their lives. But there may be some struggle with perfectionism or not feeling like, everything is going to be 100% perfect. We want to focus on small, meaningful steps that we can take every day in order to better our lives. Now, on June 18th, then we're going to see Jupiter in Cancer come into a square with Neptune in Aries. So, we see the square happening within about 5 days of each other. First, it squares Saturn, and then it's going to square Neptune. So Jupiter is optimistic. Ironically, both Neptune and Jupiter have associations with Pisces. So the square is kind of saying the same thing, in my opinion. Jupiter's optimistic. Neptune is going to be idealistic. It can be about creating a dreamy but potential kind of confusing energy. Now, this square can also inspire creative or spiritual growth, but there's definitely risks here revolving around delusion or overly idealizing someone or something. What I'm expecting is that we're going to see a surge of intuition and compassion, and I think it's ideal for artistic or kind of like healing pursuits. However, I think it could also bring up some issues where there's blurred boundaries or unrealistic expectations that can definitely lead to disappointment. Especially when you think about Saturn being in conjunction to Neptune right now, we have to be super grounded, super aware, clear, sober, really present in order to get clarity about where we're wanting to grow in the area of Cancer in our chart. Essentially, ground your ideas in reality, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls. Now, on the 20th of the month, we're going to see the sun ingress into Cancer. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is going to be the first day of summer. This is obviously seen as, the summer solstice. This is a really potent, kind of powerful reset point where we are moving into what's going to be a new several-month period where there's going to be focused more on emotional action and nurturing. Jupiter is there. We're going to also see the sun, coming into contact with Jupiter at some point. So, this basically for me is a day where it's amplifying themes of the home and the family and also emotional security. So we might feel like this is more of a time where we're needing to nurture ourselves as well as our loved ones. I'm expecting more of a cozy kind of introspective vibe. We're going to be prioritizing, I think, our emotional connections. People are going to be seeking comfort and may reflect on their roots. And we're going to see sensitivity definitely highlighted. So it's all about creating safe spaces. Now, on the 24th of the month, on June 24th, we're going to see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer. Think about this. Jupiter is exalted in the sign. That means that it's basically as good as it gets. And when you see the sun come into conjunction with Jupiter, which happens once a year, this is what some astrologers refer to as the luckiest day of the year. Although I don't know if I agree with that, but in this case, because we only see the sun conjunct Jupiter in Cancer once every almost 12 years, this is definitely one of the luckier ones. We will also see Jupiter kind of mixed into the new moon in Cancer. So I would say, arguably, right, making June probably one of the luckier months of the year because it's a once in a 12-year transit. So those of you guys who have a natal Jupiter in Cancer, happy Jupiter return. I'm having mine too. Yay. So I'm excited to see what kind of happens. But I do think that the meaning of this is that we're seeing the sun and Jupiter unite. It's merging, and a conjunction is the strongest aspect in astrology. So it's creating this burst, right, of optimism, abundance, emotional warmth, happiness, joy, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful transit, even in spite of some of the squares. The conjunction is really enhancing confidence and opportunities and growth when it comes to home and family matters, but it may not necessarily be in, let's say, your fourth house, right? If you're not an Aries rising, it's going to be in a different area, but you're going to see some kind of luck that's going to be emerging, some kind of joy, some kind of gift that's being given to you in the Cancer area of your chart. Watch for that feel-good moment. I think it's going to be inspiring generosity, obviously big dreams, and it's a very lucky transit for starting heartfelt projects. Just avoid overextending, emotionally or financially, because that can also happen with some of the aspects that we're seeing. On the 26th of the month, Mercury will change signs. It will be ingressing into the sign of Leo. So when Mercury is on the move, we're looking at the South Node. Obviously, Mercury entering into a bold fixed sign that's a fire sign ruled by the sun. It's going to spark confidence, and we're going to see that there's going to be lots of dramatic communication. Right off the bat, we start seeing it come into opposition with Pluto. That'll happen a couple days later, so you might be feeling it during the ingress. But with Mercury in the sign of Leo, thoughts turn to creativity. It can be about self-expression, leadership, but we also see some kind of ego-driven debates that can kind of arise at this transit. Be creative, especially if you're involved in arts, dance, anything in terms of performance, theater. We might just be feeling a little bit more playful in how we're communicating and tapping into like our inner artist. I think that there will be a shift towards being more charismatic. This is also great for romance and heartfelt conversations. People are definitely going to want to shine with this transit through their words. So it's making it ideal for like presentations and creative writing. Just watch for the arrogance that can kind of peek through in some communication. Then on the 29th of June, we're going to see Mercury in Leo oppose Pluto in Aquarius. And this is that kind of big boom communication moment. Like I said, that connection to the South Node in Virgo, which is tied to health, habits, routine, jobs. Likely we're going to see some big headlines in the world revolving around, philosophical differences. We could see some kind of, expose or, some news that's dropped that's going to be exposing something, especially people in power. Pluto can be power. I think that this is about a clash. Oppositions are hard angles. They're like Mars angles. So, it's like Saturn. It's a Saturn angle, the 180 degrees. So it's going to be about clashing. Mercury's going to be clashing with Pluto's kind of transformative intensity. And this is going to be creating some power struggles. We're also going to see people who are going to be like obsessively kind of thinking, and people who are pressing for information and details, and people who are going to want to be doing some digging. And I think this opposition digs deep into the truth, but it can also lead to manipulative or confrontational dialogue that we have with other people. So be watching for, maybe some big news break coming out from like a journalist or somebody's getting exposed for something. And I'm expecting intense conversations that will reveal hidden motives, but it also can spark breakthroughs. So I think that this is a transit that's really about being honest, taking time for self-reflection, but also avoid getting stuck in the mental loops and the control battles. And because Mercury is going to be about the individual in the sign of Leo, Pluto is going to be about the collective. You're going to see a lot of people who are going to be speaking out against censorship or control, especially as it's kind of connected to things online. It's also going to be about kind of standing out and maybe saying things that go against the grain a little bit. And definitely certain entertainers or creators that are going to be in the spotlight. Now, we know that Pluto will be continuing his ongoing retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. So obviously for my Scorpio and Aquarius risings, this is impacting you guys a little bit more unless you have anything from 0 to about 5 degrees of the fixed signs. You're under a Pluto square or opposition. This basically means for the next several months, because the retrograde is a total of about 5 months, we're going to continue to unearth like collective and personal transformation, especially around Aquarius themes. So like innovation, community, power dynamics, that's still getting kind of worked out. And in Aquarius, it's also challenging us to rethink societal structures and anything in regards to our personal authenticity. But in a nutshell, this is like a slow introspective process, and it's releasing outdated systems or outdated beliefs. Really, the only trigger we're going to see is like the opposition between Mercury. So maybe you guys will kind of catch that. Watch for, feelings that get stirred up, resistance maybe, or kind of existential questioning. Now, for the moons this month, on June 11th, we're going to see a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So if you have anything around, I would say 19, 20, or 21 degrees of Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, or the mutable signs, okay? So my Virgos, my Sagittarius, my Pisces, as well as my Geminis, you guys are going to be feeling the effects of this. Primarily because this full moon is going to be triggering a grand mutable cross. We're going to see the sun in Gemini, the moon in Sag. They are going to be squaring the north and south node in Pisces as well as Virgo. So we see planets squaring the nodes on both sides, where we're kind of like at a crossroads and we're having to kind of deal with the past in order to move forward. The positive is that even though squares are challenging, they create grit and they help us actually propel forward. So what this basically means is that with the squares kind of coming in, we're being asked to evolve. Now, Jupiter is the ruler, and I think the silver lining is that Jupiter is in its exaltation in Cancer, and it'll be in conjunction to Mercury. So it'll be like, okay, things are changing, but like it's actually for the better. Like these are going to be positive changes. And I think, this being ruled by Jupiter, it's going to be highlighting truth-seeking, right, adventure, emotional honesty, but it's also challenging us to release outdated beliefs or habits. So we got to take the good with the bad with this one. What to expect? Definitely some kind of like climactic moment or revelation of closure. That's what full moons are about, especially around personal philosophies or your long-term goals. The immutable cross is going to be creating some tension, and it's going to be pushing us to be more adaptable. I expect emotional breakthroughs, but also potential scattered energy or indecision if we don't know how to act. Then on June 25th, 2025, we have what I would consider to be the best new moon in all of 2025. So the best new moon all year. And this is the other reason why I think that June is going to be a very lucky month. We're going to be seeing a new moon that's going to be debuting at 4 degrees of Cancer. Moon's in its home sign, moon's conjunct the sun, Jupiter's at 3 degrees in conjunction to this new moon. Wow. So this is amazing with the exalted Jupiter. Yes, we are still seeing some slight squares to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but I believe that this is really about blending emotional renewal with tension, using the tension to get something done. It's very potent, obviously, for setting intentions, especially around home, family, or inner security. Yes, we see some of the challenges with Saturn, which is limits, Neptune, which is illusions, which requires us to have some sense of personal clarity. But I believe that any intentions that are seated around this new moon have the potential to be huge, okay? Like down the road. So this is the one you guys want to work with. It's a powerful start, obviously, for any emotional or domestic goal. If you want to move, you want to buy a house, you want to renovate a house, you want to start a family. I mean, look at where Jupiter is in your chart. Yes, there's going to be some challenges, but if you can get things in order, that square, when you push past the discernment, is about dreaming big. So all we got to do is stay grounded and remember that this lunation really favors nurturing intentions that align with your authentic needs. We have to listen to what our feelings are telling us in order to be able to propel forward. So with that being said, we're going to move on. Now, this is going to be the June 2025 horoscopes for the 12 rising signs. Now, I practice tropical Western astrology. That's what I like to practice. I'm not a Vedic astrologer, and I'm going to be doing this from the perspective of whole sign. So to make the most of my predictions, I really recommend listening for your ascendant sign first. Okay. And people always ask me, which one do I listen to? You listen to all three if you've got the time to do it. But listen for your rising sign, because this is going to tell you exactly where these planets and the new moons and everything that's moving, which house it's going to be in your chart. That way you know where to kind of spot some of the stuff that's coming. That's how I write the horoscopes in zodiacal order, according to your rising sign. You can listen to your sun sign, especially for personal development, happiness, joy, creative projects, anything connected to your career. Some of those things will definitely correlate. So you can listen to that as well. And then the moon sign is going to be more connected to your private life, your emotions, your emotional needs, your family, and your home. Truth be told, especially when you listen to my new and full moon predictions, I would really recommend listening to the moon, because it's going to tell you like what's coming up for you emotionally, right? So listen to all three if you've got the time, and we are going to roll right on into the first sign. What's up, Aries and Aries rising? Welcome to your June 2025 horoscope. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're thriving in the midst of some of these transits that you got going on with Saturn and Neptune. You guys will have to let me know how you're feeling. I guess the big news for the month of June is that Mars is going to be on the move. So that's going to be pretty significant for you as Mars changes signs. We're also going to be seeing that there will be some squares between Jupiter and Cancer moving into your 4th house to Saturn and Neptune in your sign. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means as well. Now, I'm going to kind of try to go in order here. I'm going to try to focus on house by house to make it a little bit more clear. Obviously, you won't see the chart move, but you'll see me draw on it. So I want to start first by kind of talking about some of the Mars transits. So you're going to want to watch on June 15th and June 17th. Okay, so what you're going to see is that Mars during this period is kind of finishing up its tour in your 5th house. Obviously, the 5th house is about taking chances, dating, children, romance, creative projects. So you've been really kind of focused on having fun or being creative or kind of getting out there and performing or working on a hobby of some kind or your own business. We will see Mars stay in Leo until the 17th, and then it will move into your 6th house of work, routine, health, and habits. But on the 15th, okay, you're going to see Mars in your 5th house square Uranus in your 2nd. And this is a day that you really need to pump the brakes. Be careful when it comes to taking chances, especially with gambling or investments or the market. Now, then on the 17th, Mars moves into your 6th house, where there is going to be work, and more work. Health, habits, fitness, making a to-do list, checking things off, going to the gym, burning off steam. All of that stuff is going to come up during this transit pretty much mid-month all the way for the next several weeks. And right off the bat, Mars will come into an inconjunct or a quincunx with Saturn in your 1st house, Neptune in your 1st house. Truth be told, a lot of you guys are going through a bit of like a ego death, an identity death. Maybe there's major changes going on for you in terms of your status. Maybe after years of working one job, you're leaving. Maybe you're changing occupations and going into a different field. Maybe you're retiring. I don't know. But whatever is happening here, the Mars, quincunx, Saturn, and Neptune is basically saying, take a good hard look at yourself. Ask yourself, what can I make better? Not what's wrong with me, not how bad I look, or what needs to be changed. What can I improve? Virgo wants to improve things. So we can kind of go into the 6th house and say, well, I can organize my office. I can be better about maybe going for walks. I can go to the gym twice a week. Maybe I can go and see a new hairstylist. Maybe I can be lifting some weights. And don't be too self-critical, because it's very hard to see yourself clearly with Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house. Now, some of you guys are going to be feeling, well, because I've got a change going on with my job, now I'm not working, or now I've got this health thing going on. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to stay busy and stay active? You find something that you feel like is your purpose. You find a way to serve in a different way. Volunteer at an adoption agency connected to animals or pets, down maybe for like the Humane Society. Maybe you decide that you want to help others in need. Maybe suddenly you have the freedom and the time to do something that you have always wanted to do to help the community. So that's another way that you can kind of use this transit. So those seem to be the most important transits for you, in my opinion, outside of the fact that, yes, throughout this month, you are kind of dealing with Jupiter wanting to expand your home and your family. Maybe this is about renovations, moving, new additions to the family, changes that are happening at home. Maybe it's going to be about going and visiting, your birthplace. Maybe it's about people coming to visit you and you're like, I don't know how I feel about this change that's going on in the home space. And you might feel like you're a little bit more critical rather than optimistic, but I predict that everything is going to play out just fine. So outside of that, watch for, Mars going through your 6th house starting on the 17th. Those of you guys looking for jobs, this can be a great transit for you. Now you're going to see on to your 2nd house, you're going to have this month Venus transiting your 2nd house. This is going to be starting on the 5th of June. Honestly, good for money, good for luxury, expenses, great for anything involving luxury purchases. So it can be cosmetics, it could be anything connected to clothing, jewelry. Something to think about is that Venus is associated with relationships. So you could be spending money on your partner. You could be giving gifts to clients. You could be taking people out, or just investing in your own personal style. Just watch for when Venus comes into a square with Pluto early in the transit. There can be some jealous eyes that, people are kind of, like, oh, what does Aries have? Like, why did they get that? How did they get that? You can kind of see some greed-eyed monsters that can pop up, but it'll be a quick square. We will also see on into your 4th house that there is going to be Mercury entering into Cancer. This will be happening on June the 8th. So Mercury deals with health, habits, routine. It can also be about fitness. It can be about assistance. So think like dog walkers, babysitters, home organizers, people who clean your home. This can be a really great time to like clean your house up, get things organized, like declutter, or if you need to hire somebody to help you find a house or find a rental, or if you want to bring somebody in to represent you and sell your home, it can be a great time to work with an agent. Now, then you're going to see on the 9th, Jupiter will enter into Cancer, and Jupiter for you is connected to your 9th house, which is your faith, your philosophy, your belief system. This could also be about your father or like an in-law. It is possible that it is family from further away that are coming to visit you, or maybe it indicates that you're considering or you're sussing out buying property or moving into a home that's further away. So this could be in another city. This could also be in another country. And yes, you're going to be a little bit more critical and kind of skeptical, but you're open to expanding the way that you look at where you could live, how you could live. And this also highlights the possibility of like legal documents and legal paperwork somehow connected or tied to your home. Now, then we're going to see on the 20th of the month, the sun will enter into Cancer. So this is the ruler of your house of children. This is also about playtime, creativity, entertainment. Honestly, love this transit. Fun can be had at home. There could be kids coming to visit with you. Part of the Jupiter's transit could be that there's news that somebody's joining the family or somebody's getting married or somebody's pregnant. It can be that you have a man coming to stay and visit with you. So it could be a romantic partner. It could be also a younger child that can be coming to visit as well. And then on the 24th of the month, you will see the sun conjunct Jupiter. And this is where you're going to see the extra yummy, good, exciting news about what new happy thing is going to be added to your family. It could be that there's a big breakthrough for one of your kids. It could mean they bring home a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Maybe you're, redesigning your children's room. Maybe you're building an entertainment space at home. Maybe you're having a home gathering or a family party. Whatever it is, it's going to be good. Don't worry about that. And then you will see shortly after that on the 25th, a new moon that's going to be in this part of the sky. So this is where if you're wanting to redecorate your home, if you're wanting to find a new home, if you're wanting to expand your intuition or your emotions or better your relationship with your family, this is the new moon that you're going to want to set intentions around. Now, the full moon, on the other hand, is going to be on June 11th, and this is going to be taking place in your 9th house. It is still featuring emphasis on Jupiter, though, okay, because it will be ruled by Jupiter. So a full moon in the 9th, it's possible that this is a time where you're completing something. Maybe you're finishing planning a trip. Maybe you're at an airport. Maybe there is some graduation. There is some completion of a skill or some kind of training or program that you've been going through. It's also possible that, this is somehow tied. The travel, the legal matters, passports, visas, anything like that is tied to you potentially trying to move to another place. So if you are saying, hey, I'm going and visiting family elsewhere or family's coming to visit me, that's that, oh, I'm traveling or I'm dealing with people who are going back and forth kind of aspect within the full moon in your 9th. You might have family coming to stay with you if there's going to be a ceremony, a celebration, or a graduation. That's definitely possible as well. Then you're going to be seeing on really all month long, Pluto is going to be continuing his retrograde in your 11th house. So Pluto deals with power. It's going to be dealing with endings and beginnings. Yes, we will see a brief square, obviously, to Venus. And it's pretty much the only thing where you're maybe kind of needing to reassess what your values are, what you want, cash in hand or what you're wanting to buy. And is that in conflict with some of your goals, right? Some of your goals when it comes to saving or when it comes to overall what you're doing with your resources or where you're investing your funds. Changes with friends, changes with networks can continue, and this will be a several-month process. Essentially, June, I think, has just got your heart and your hustle really fired up. I'm loving on the 5th with, Venus moving into your 2nd. I think that could spark some financial wins. So I'm thinking raises or luxury purchases, but budget smart is my advice. Obviously, when we get into mid-month, when we see Mercury going into your 4th house, the sun going into your 4th house, Jupiter going into your 4th house, and then a new moon, everything is flooded in the home, not literally, touch wood, but figuratively. There's lots of emotions there. So if you guys have been thinking about moving or family healing or something kind of connected to your home space, this is the month to get the show on the road. That new moon is going to set in motion 6 months of being able to see some of those changes evolve. Watch for the big truths that are going to happen on the Sagittarius full moon. I think that this is for a lot of you guys, not just travel or about completing something. It's about huge shifts in regards to your beliefs. with the Mars transits, guys, listen to me, especially because Mars is going to square from your 5th house to your 2nd. I think that this is warning against like reckless flames, where you're like, oh, I'm just doing it because of like, I just want to feel something good. It can create a little bit of strife in the love department. Definitely mid-month with Mars going into your 6th house, get on your health and your kind of work kicks, come up with a to-do list, and you'll find that you're going to get a lot of things done. Just be careful on the 15th and the 18th when we're seeing Jupiter in your 4th house coming into square with Saturn and Neptune in your sign. It's going to test you. It's going to be testing you to see what is it that you're likely going to be doing when it comes to these home or family changes. Just stay grounded. Don't make any big decisions those days. Now, on the 24th and the 25th, I advise you to cozy up at home. You know, listen to your gut, trust your gut, avoid impulsive moves on the 15th, and definitely enjoy some of these new beginnings that are going to be happening in the private area of your life. All right, so let's pull some cards for you guys. Let's see what the tarot says for you. Right, I love this. You get the King of Wands. All right, so this definitely deals with Aries, Sun, Moon, or risings. And this is about channeling, and this is very Saturn in your sign, okay? Channeling the more creative leadership, vision type vibes of the King of Wands. This literally says big picture, taking control, daring decisions, boldness, and optimism. It's possible to take control and be bold and optimistic with the square, because squares are about meeting in the middle, being able to do both things. Anyway, so my advice is, maybe this is you as an Aries, Sun, Moon, or rising. Maybe this is you interacting with another person. The shorter meeting is about leadership and vision. It's about being confident, charismatic, and capable of inspiring others to follow your lead. So who are you leading? Is it family? Is it friends? You know, what is it that you're doing where you're embodying more of this energy? You guys will have to let me know, and I hope you enjoy the month of June. All right, we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? How's it going? Obviously, Venus is in your sign this month, so you guys are looking gorgeous, my dears. Great transit for you guys. Obviously, Venus is your chart ruler, and having Venus go through your sign is great for beauty, appearance, hair, makeup, nails, lashes, the whole 9 yards, new perfumes, luxury, indulgences, and just more charm, more, I think, of a positive kind of influence on other people. Also, Venus is connected to your 6th house, so you might kind of get more done because you're maybe feeling like you have been really taking care of yourselves. It can also be about indulgences kind of connected to health as well as wellness. So I'm loving this for you guys. You are going to see starting on June the 5th, Venus is going to move through this part of your chart, and she's going to be kind of moving through here basically all month long. So you're going to get to enjoy that from the 5th on. My advice is that this is just about knowing your worth. This is also, I think, about really feeling radiant. When Venus is in your 1st house, it's not only ramping up your charm, but it's a good time to refresh your look or your vibe. So just something to kind of think about for you guys. Taurus is going to be more about the materials that you're buying, the perfumes that you're using, the cosmetics that you're using. And you might be kind of leaning into things that are going to be a little bit more natural or things that are going to be a little bit more comfortable. The only hang up that I see is that there will be at some point early in the transit, Venus will square Pluto in your 10th house. So you could have some people at work that are kind of you're catching their attention. So the Pluto square can work, I think, in your favor, but it can also, for some of you guys, be oh, you're drawing too much attention at work, or you're changing too much, or people are so super focused on your appearance and they're not really kind of seeing the work that you're putting into things, or people are judging you off of your appearance and you're do you not see my brains? Or, the other things that you kind of bring to the table. So there can be a little bit of friction that can be happening in that department. But hey, if you want to use your charm to win people over at work, so be it. Onto the 3rd house this month, we're going to see a lot of action kind of going on in this part of the sky. So within the 3rd house, obviously, this is the sign of Cancer. As a Taurus or a Taurus rising, it will sextile some of your placements. So Cancer is friendly Taurus. It's going to work with you. This is going to give you the opportunity to tap into what the 3rd house is all about. Essentially, I kind of feel with the June 8th, Mercury entering Cancer. It's kind of about your second house, which is about money, values, resources. And it's also going to be about your fifth house, which can be about, hobbies, crafting, creating, children. So you're going to want to be writing, learning, thinking, and sharing more about these things, communicating with your neighbors, communicating with your siblings, going on short distance trips. I think some of you guys with all the planets in the third house are either thinking about moving, looking at new places, maybe looking at getting a new car or making a change in your vehicle. There can be, road trips and short distance trips that are kind of going on. So just a very lit up third house. The next day on June the 9th, Jupiter will enter into Cancer, and Jupiter deals with your 8th house of shared resources. So you may be given something from a sibling, right? They might say, well, I'm going to buy a new car, do you want my old one? Or I'm going to be going on this trip. Do you want to go with me? Stuff like that. So you might find that they're more generous. This is also going to be about conversations about debt and loans and savings, tax documents, inheritance documents, legal papers, things kind of connected to debt and loans, and vehicles are going to get highlighted with this transit this year. Then on the 20th, you're going to see the sun go into Cancer. So it's going to be highlighting this. And you will also see the sun conjunct Jupiter in the third house, where I think this is where you're going to see, for those of you guys who have been looking for the perfect home, you may find it, because the third house is about moving. Once again, it can also be about vehicles or siblings. So I don't know what's going to happen this day. For some reason, I feel like for some of you guys, it's going to be, you're reunited with a family member or a sibling, and it feels great. For some others, it's going to be you're buying a new car. For other people, it's going to be we've been looking at all these houses, and then we finally found the right neighborhood, and we found the right house, and that's where we want to be. So communication is going to be very optimistic and very positive with this conjunction. And then on the 25th, you're going to have a new moon that's going to be in this particular sign. So much emphasis on neighbors, siblings, communication, learning, gadgets, traveling, vehicles. That's going to be the theme for the month. Then you're going to see to your fourth house, there will be a Mars and Leo transit that's kind of completing. We will see that on the 15th, Mars in your home sector is going to square Uranus in your sign. So you're going to feel like a bit under pressure, maybe to make a snap decision in regards to changes with your home and your family, how that's impacting your workflow, how that's going to be impacting also the need for you to take more responsibility with some of the changes that are happening at home. Then you're going to see on the 17th that finally Mars will leave the fourth house. It's no longer going to be in a square to your sign. Yay! And it's going to be moving into Virgo, a fellow sister Earth sign. So now for the next 6 weeks or so, you're really benefiting from some of the trines to your sun, your moon, your rising. It's more stable. And also I think it's going to provide an opportunity for romance, for children, for fun, for creativity, for dating if you're single as well. Now, Mars is connected to your seventh house of relationships. So it is possible that by putting yourself out there, meeting people, going out, socializing, you meet someone, you fall in love, you go to a bar, you go to a show, hey, boom, you connect with someone. And I really like this transit for you because I feel like it's also going to be encouraging you to create, participate in hobbies. Maybe you become a little bit more critical of some of the things that you're creating, that you're painting, or what you're doing. Maybe you're a little bit more critical also of romantic partners or your kids. That's possible as well. Then you're going to see on the 8th of the month, there will be a full moon in the sign. On the 11th of the month, there will be a full moon in your 8th house. So this is a full moon in Sagittarius. It's a sign that in conjuncts or quincunxes you. So some of the things that are coming, you're not going to see. But still, I think it's a good transit. I feel like it's still bringing up all of the themes of Jupiter in your third. So my interpretation of this is essentially big changes in regards to joint income, resources, money that you have invested, money with your partner. Maybe it can be about inheritances. Maybe it can be about closing out anything in regards to taxes, insurance, or debt. And likely you're going to get an email or a phone call or something that's going to be positive. That's like, hey, we sorted it out, everything's good to go, or hey, you qualified for the loan, here's your new car, right? Or hey, your credit was good enough to, be able to get into your new apartment, that kind of stuff. And you're going to be like, yes, okay, everything's moving forward. Positive change, but still change can sometimes be overwhelming when we have full moons in the 8th house. Then you're continuing to deal with Pluto retrograde in your 10th house of career. So essentially, if you're Taurus rising, I would say 0 to 5 degrees, you're under a Pluto square, and Pluto is definitely in superior position. So there's no doubt your career is really, it's changing, it's evolving. It can feel like it's like a critical turning point where who you work with, who you're married to, who you're collaborating with is like going to make or break some of the changes happening in your life. But you have several months to kind of reevaluate this and reassess this and work through the necessary changes that are happening out in the world, where there's a lot more planets that are moving through the bottom of your chart. That's about kind of looking at what's going on internally. So as a recap, Taurus, you look at this month, all right? So really prioritize maybe freshening up your vibe. Pay attention to everything going on in your 3rd house with all of the transits going on in Cancer. I think it's going to spark a lot of brilliant ideas for you, to be honest with you. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction that's going to happen on the 24th of the month, I feel like is a very lucky day, as is the 25th. And these are amazing days. That's good for writing, starting websites, launching podcasts, maybe planning a short distance trip, maybe connecting with your siblings. And then the full moon in the 11th, there is going to be obviously closing out some financial or emotional chapters. Whatever comes up, just let it go. Mars leaving your 4th house is great because it's no longer stirring the pot. Just watch for the square to Uranus in your sign. That can bring sudden changes with home and family, and you got to stay calm. On the 17th, as Mars goes into your 5th house, it's going to ignite opportunities for creativity as well as romance. So I'm looking forward to all of that. Work with Pluto retrograde, redefine your goals and anything in regards to releasing outdated ambitions, and watch for Jupiter in Cancer in your 3rd house coming into a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries in your 12th. This will be on the 15th and the 18th of the month. I think this is inspiring big ideas, but it's really warning against overly idealizing things, moves, trips, areas of study, buying cars, like taking on too much. And that's the thing that can kind of happen when Jupiter and Saturn square. Saturn's trying to kind of taper that. So is it too much change? Is it too much debt? Is it going to be too much travel, or just kind of too much on your mind? Anyway, my advice for you guys this month is shine bright on the 5th and speak your truth on June 24th and 25th. These are going to be good days for you. Handle any home tensions on June 15th with patience and reevaluate your career path all month long. All right, so let's see what the tarot has to say for you guys, my Taurus and Taurus risings. All right, so the card that I got for you is the Knight of Cups. I love this for you. Because knights are dedicated to their cause. They get on their horse and they charge into battle. So it can literally be about travel, right? And that makes sense with Jupiter and Cancer in your 3rd house. But this can also be about water signs. So Cancer, Scorpios, Pisces coming into your life. New relationship opportunities definitely can happen with this card. It's about being idealistic, charming, artistic, graceful, tactful, diplomatic, a mediator, or a negotiator, which is perfect because Jupiter can really negotiate in the 3rd house. It can strike a deal. Basically, romance and idealism are themes with this card, and it might mean that you're, maybe more romantic than usual this month, and you're feeling driven by your heart and inspired by beauty and creativity, especially with Venus in your sign. So I love this for you guys. This can be indicating that you're kind of tapping into your intuition and your emotions better. It can also be implying that there's a potential relationship heading your way. This is the Knight in shining armor. So keep a lookout for somebody who might just steal your heart this month. Good luck, Taurus. All right, we got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's going on, Gemini? Oh, I hope you guys are doing well. And if you were a June Gemini, happy birthday to you guys. I hope it's a good one. We're going to be talking all things Jupiter related because, well, there's lots of things changing with Jupiter. Jupiter is finally leaving your sign. So you're not ruled by Jupiter, but Jupiter is going to be leaving. So what you're going to be experiencing the first week or so of the month is the last moments of Jupiter in your sign. So soak all of that goodness up, all of the joy, the optimism that you've been feeling. And then also we're going to see Mercury that's going to be doing some things this month. So the month really starts off with Mercury, moving through Cancer. So there's going to be more emphasis on you because you're ruled by Mercury, thinking about, your emotional values, what you're spending on home, on family. Maybe there is going to be organizing or, doing business, or there's going to be a sense of you focusing more on budgeting. Then we will see Mercury drop into Leo. That's going to be happening later in the month. Once that happens, then you're going to see Mercury come into an opposition with Pluto. Okay, so that's going to be a little testy for you guys. I definitely feel like that can be a time where, there is some challenge in communication, and maybe you're kind of feeling like you're having a difference of opinion with somebody, some kind of philosophical debate, maybe. Maybe you're having an issue communicating with a teacher, a mentor, a lawyer, with an in-law. Maybe there are some challenges, planning anything in regards to travel. So that's going to be what you're going to want to watch out for the most. All right, so we're going to go in order. I'm going to start first with the kind of the beginning of the month. We're looking at your 12th house in early June. Okay, so this is where Venus is going to be entering into. Venus is traditionally associated with your 5th house of romance, children, and creativity. It also has connections with the 12th house, which can be about hidden talents, kind of hidden love affairs, anything in regards to foreign lands or self-undoing. So when Venus goes through the 12th house, it is wanting to be more spiritual. It wants to make sacrifices. It wants to be artistic. It wants music and comfort and beauty. But it's kind of lost in its own world. So it can also mean that there's a romantic thing going on where you feel confused or clouded. Maybe you're working in a back room on a creative project and you're trying to kind of get things done and you're just in the zone. So from the 5th on, we're going to see Venus moving through this part of the sky. Then we're going to be seeing, if we move on to your 1st house, final moments of Jupiter in your sign, and then we're going to get into your 2nd house where it's all going to be about money and finances this month. So many planets moving through your 2nd house. On the 8th, Jupiter enters into Cancer. On the 8th, Mercury enters into Cancer. Then on the 9th, we're going to see Jupiter enter into Cancer. Then on the 20th, we're going to see the Sun enter into Cancer. Then on the 24th, we see the Sun conjunct Jupiter in your 2nd house. And then on the 25th, we have a new moon. So I have to just tell you guys, essentially, this is also not just about making money, but this is about you going, what do I need to possess? And so for many of you guys, it's, I need to feel good how I'm making money. I need money from property, from real estate. I need money for family. I'm buying furniture. I'm going to be relocating. Things like that can be happening as well. So there can be more expenses pertaining to home-related goods. All of these things are kind of pointing in the direction of saying this next year is going to be a very abundant, very rich year for you. But it can be rich not just in a physical sense, but in an emotional sense, and also in following your gut when it comes to making financial decisions. Then we're going to see when we move to your 3rd house, so this is Leo, Mars will continue to move through this part of the chart up until the 17th. So Mars is going to be about health, organization, scheduling, timing, friends and associations. So maybe you're, planning trips, taking courses, trying to work fitness into your schedule, trying to see your friends. I think you're trying to do a lot. And Mars will actually come into a square with Uranus, and that's going to be happening on the 15th. So, I would just say watch for burnout or kind of getting mentally fried or overwhelmed. This is also, be very careful when you're driving because the 3rd house is about movement. So that tells me that there could be some blind spots or things going on that could kind of impact you. Or maybe, you're wanting to speak up and say something and then your gut is hold on, just kind of sleep on it, just think about it. And then on the 17th, Mars is going to leave your 3rd house and it's going to go into your 4th house of home and family. Truth be told, a little tricky because it's in an angular house. So if you are a Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising at some point over that 6-week period, Mars is going to square your sign. So Mars is obviously about cleaning, organization, work, and productivity and friends. So I feel like if you have projects to do while Mars is in your 4th house, it's better. And Virgo is about perfecting, cleaning, and organizing. So I think it's a really good time to be like, you know what? I know that I'm going to have a lot of entertaining coming up in the fall. I know I'm going to have a lot of people over. What do I need to do in order to get my home in order? Do I need to refresh the furniture? Do I need to do a deep clean? Do I need to organize? Should we paint something? Do I have a room that's not finished? Do I need to kind of fix something in the kitchen? Something is going to be worked on. So there could be a lot of work that can actually, or a lot of headway that could be made at home. And I really recommend doing this because it's going to offset some of the disruptive energies of Mars. And I do this every time Mars goes through my 4th house. So there isn't conflict in the home. So I'm not likely to have a home break-in. So I'm less likely to have a house fire or a kitchen fire because sometimes these things can happen when Mars goes through the 4th house. So trust me, have a to-do list, get everything done, get everything organized. You got 6 weeks to work on it. All right, then we can move to your 7th house, where you're going to have on June 11th, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius. All right, so it's at 20 degrees. So if you have anything 19, 20, 21 degrees of Gemini, Gemini rising, this is going to be something that's going to be opposing you. So it's lighting up your 1st house of self. It's also lighting up your 7th house of other people. Big changes, shifts, and kind of like revelations when it comes to relationships and partnerships with other people. This is also highlighting Jupiter, which is going to be conjunct Mercury, your chart ruler, in the 2nd house. And I am predicting for some Geminis and Gemini risings, some major positive financial breakthrough for you and a partner. Hey, we finally have enough money to have a down payment on a house. Hey, we're able to afford to redo the deck. Hey, you know, my family gave us money to be able to do this thing. And it's like, boom, good news, working together, supporting one another, or bringing in a significant client, somebody that can benefit you financially by working together. In terms of your 9th house, you're going to continue to see Pluto retrograde here. So there is still like a lot of like reworking or this ongoing shift revolving around your faith, philosophy, education, or your belief system. The new moon, which I don't think I touched on, but I know we're going to have one on the 25th, will be in your 2nd house. So where the full moon was more about, okay, there's some big change going on with partners, which still relates to money. The new moon is your once a year opportunity to plant seeds when it comes to new financial opportunities, investing in yourself, feeling good, having healthy self-esteem, making more money, whatever. This is your money manifestation moon. So this is the one that you guys definitely want to use. So in a nutshell, for this next month, for my Gemini risings, very soulful, very savvy month. Okay, that's what I want you guys to kind of keep in mind. All right, Venus is moving through your 12th house. You're going to have some kind of spiritual vibes. Maybe you're journaling. Maybe you're meditating for clarity. Maybe you're just spending extra time in your comfy clothes watching Netflix. Then as we move further into June, with this slew of planets like Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, and the new moon, all moving into your 2nd house, it's all now about budgeting or negotiating, doing business, and setting intentions when it comes to your finances. I do think that that full moon in your 7th is going to be about clarifying partnerships, committing or cutting ties. And if you're cutting ties, the financial implications and what that might mean for you. And if you guys can come to terms on some kind of financial agreement, if there is a separation. I do think that I would be mindful that as Mars moves through your 3rd house, as it's coming into a square with Uranus around the 15th, there is this risk of like having rash talks. So don't rush having any contract signed or, having to kind of rush a trip or anything like that. And really focus on your home projects this month, starting on the 17th when Mars goes into your 4th house. Okay. Keep in mind also that on the 15th and the 18th, Jupiter will be coming into a square with both Saturn as well as Neptune in Aries in your friendship zone. I see this as like a time where there can be tests to your financial plans, just stay practical, don't over expend anything. There may be more expenses that are kind of coming up revolving around, your personal needs, and where, in order to say, hey, I'm growing or expanding in this area of my life, you're having to contract in other ways. So if you have this goal where you're like, I want to buy a new car, I want to buy a house, I want to save X amount of money, I want to invest, whatever, you're going to have to make concessions and sacrifices in a financial way socially. Saturn and Neptune in the 11th. Maybe you're not going, out to the bar every week. Maybe you're not spending as much going out shopping with your friends. Maybe you are cutting back a little bit and you're trying to learn more about cooking and making your own food and doing things at home. And you're being savvy with ways that you can save money. So in the long run, you can actually have more. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Anyway, advice for you guys is, definitely dive into your intuition on June the 5th. Secure finances on the 24th and the 25th of June. Be sure to clarify relationships on the 11th under that full moon. I think you guys can find a win-win, and it can be very beneficial and very lucrative for some Gemini risings. And definitely continue to refine your worldview with Pluto retrograde in your 9th. But if you're an early degree Gemini sun, moon, or rising, it's still trining and empowering you. All right. Well, I hope that's helpful for you guys. Let's see what the tarot has to say. All right, so the card that I get is the Wheel of Fortune. Love it. Especially because this has associations with Jupiter as well as Sagittarius. So that's kind of cool that there is like that kind of connection there, especially with that full moon being in your 7th of relationships, major turning points with relationships, but it's all pointing to things that are going to benefit you, make you feel more safe or more secure. Jupiter in your 2nd. Now, this is a card that's about change, cycles, fate, definitive moments, luck, fortune, and unexpected events, but generally for the better. And it says that cycles of change and transformation are happening. You're entering a period of growth and evolution, and be open to the new opportunities. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, I think those new opportunities are going to be financial. I think those new opportunities, also because Jupiter is tied to the North Node, is growth in your career, your status, your purpose. Are you moving up in ranks at work? Are you moving into a new phase where you're feeling a little bit more emotionally secure with what you've built and what you've created? Good things are coming your way, guys. You just have to kind of stay focused and look for ways that full moon in Sagittarius can benefit you. Good luck. All right, we've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's up, Cancer? Welcome to your June 2025 horoscopes. And if you're a June Cancer, happy birthday to you guys. Well, I got to tell you, you guys are pretty much the darlings of the zodiac this month because all eyes are on you. There are so many damn planets moving into your sign, not to mention the fact that Jupiter is making its once in a 12-year emergence into your sign as well, which is amazing for travel, amazing for education, great for having, I think, a stronger foundation spiritually. Being happy, not so great for your waistline. I'm sorry, I almost said Taurus. Cancer. Oh my God, Taurus is gonna get so offended. Cancer rising. So basically, this Jupiter transit, I think, is great for you guys. Jupiter is associated with higher knowledge, travel, education, ceremonies, celebrations, education, and it's in your 1st house. So many, I think, Cancer and Cancer risings will travel this year. They will have good luck in legal matters. They will become published, or they will start teaching. Some of you guys will go to school or college or get a higher degree. Others will get pregnant, okay, with the Jupiter transit. And remember, Jupiter wants more. He wants more expansion of any kind. So if you're feeding Jupiter, milk and cookies and sugar and all those things that you might crave, then yeah, you will see expansion physically in the body. That's why it could also be seen as pregnancy. But if you're learning, if you're traveling, if you're educating yourself, if you're praying and you have a spiritual practice, you can offset some of those energies. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. So you also have a very beautiful new moon in your sign this month. I think, and I'm not playing favorites, but it is probably the best new moon all year. So that being in your sign is extra beneficial for you. And we're going to talk about why in just a second. So let's start first with the beginning of the month. I'm going to start in your 11th house around June 5th, where you're going to have a Venus transit in your 11th house. All right. So Venus is connected to your home and your family. It's also connected to your friends. So having Venus go through its home sign in the 11th house, I like it. Lots of fancy wining and dining, going out, socializing, meeting people, connecting with others. There might be barbecues, family dinners, friends inviting you over for dinner, lots of opportunity to kind of like schmooze with higher society folk. And I would just say enjoy that, go and be social. I think you guys will really like that. The other transit that I'm looking at is going to be starting on June the 8th. And really this is putting the emphasis in your first house. So on the 8th, we have Mercury move into your sign. Mercury deals with your subconscious. Mercury also deals with communication, travel, and the mind. So it's going to be really enhancing, communicating, or maybe your intuition, or writing, or, having conversations maybe on social media, starting websites, blogs, things like that, or sharing news or information with other people. Shortly after that, you're going to see the next day on the 9th, then Jupiter moves into your sign. So you might want to go back and think about 2013. That was the last time you had Jupiter go through your sign. What new things started for you then? Where did you travel to? What did you learn? What experiences did you have? Because you're going to see kind of like a lot of similarities kind of tied to that. Jupiter isn't necessarily just about the 9th house of traveling and higher education. It also has a direct connection to your 6th house of work, coworkers, anything connecting to health and wellness. So some of you guys might be traveling for work. Some of you guys are learning more about health or wellness, or getting some kind of training as well. And then you're going to see on the 20th of the month, the sun enters into your sign. So we begin Cancer season. And that's really bringing attention to you, your body, your appearance, how you're looking, your vitality, your self-esteem. And we're going to see the sun conjunct Jupiter on the 24th, which is a very positive day for, I think, refilling your own cup, indulging, treating yourself, having good money transits, maybe an opportunity to feel a little bit more bold and confident and shine, followed by the 25th, where you're going to have a new moon in Cancer. Like, oh my God. Like, I feel like especially the 20th or the 25th is just pure magic. There are so many good things that are happening for you guys. So you'll have to let me know what happens. Now, on to your second house of money, income, and resources. Well, after what feels like months of having Mars going through there, where it's probably been money burning a hole in your pocket, now Mars is actually getting ready to leave your second house. So we're going to see Mars stay in Leo until the 17th. But before it leaves on June 15th, we're going to see Mars come into a square with Uranus. And there can be some financial tension between your resources, your financial kind of setup, what you're buying, what you possess, and that of other people. So there can be some kind of friction revolving around friendships and money, friction revolving around what you're spending versus what your goals are. And you want to watch out for that. Then on the 17th, Mars will leave your second house. It'll go into your third house, and it's going to be now putting an emphasis for about 6 weeks' time on your third house. Mars is going to be about your career. It's also directly connected to creativity. So let's say you're in a creative field. Let's say maybe you own your own business, you're self-employed. Maybe a way for you to be more so creative is to focus on the third house. So some of you guys will travel for work. Others are going to set up websites, podcasts, media, anything that's revolving around getting those things in order. Setting up things that can be digital and about communication, I think, are going to be really important. And on the 11th of the month, we're going to see a full moon in Sagittarius, and that's going to be taking place in your 6th house. Now, what's interesting is full moons bring something to a completion or a conclusion. It brings something to a head. And this will be in your area of work, health, and routine. But it's ruled by Jupiter, which is on your first house cusp with Mercury. So it's almost like you know intuitively what health changes you need to make. You know if there's something that's kind of coming up for you that's either work-related, related to your pets, related to your health. Your intuition is very strong, and you're like, okay, I know that this is what I need to do, or I know that this is what's wrong, or I know that I need to go back to the gym, or I know that I need to see the doctor. Something like that will happen. So you have to really listen to your gut. But being that Jupiter is in your sign, I think it's kind of protecting you. So for a lot of you guys, it can mean that you're actually getting health results that can be necessary to kind of help you get to the point where you can have better health or habits, or having some kind of change in your schedule that is going to make you pleased. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm glad that I'm having a change in my schedule. I'm glad that I'm able to maybe now travel a little bit for work, or I'm doing something that's going to kind of break up my day-to-day. And then obviously we are going to continue to see Pluto continue through your 8th house during his retrograde. So that's going to be happening for several months' time. Pluto does well here. That's one thing I will say, but I think that you're one of the signs that's it's going to be interesting. You know, Jupiter is going to come into an inconjunct or a quincunx with Pluto. So it means that there is a profound change that's happening for you. It can be good for you. It can be for the better. And you're trying to be optimistic about how you're managing some of these changes, whether you're going back to school or you're pregnant and you're starting a family, or it can mean that you're relocating. But change can be difficult and it can be scary. And Jupiter is going to inconjunct or quincunx Pluto, which means it is bringing up something where it's bringing up maybe inner child trauma. Maybe it's bringing up some heartbreak that needs to be healed. Maybe it's bringing up some fear or phobia, vulnerability, or being seen, or being in the spotlight. Or falling in love. So it's really emphasizing intimacy and vulnerability for you guys in a very big way. All right, so June in a nutshell, right? Amazing month, especially for you guys. Like I said, you guys are kind of like the cosmic darling. So watch, I would say, with Venus going through your 11th house this month, I think this is really going to strengthen friendships. And if you can team up with other people for shared goals, that's going to be wonderful. Basically, starting on June the 8th, you're going to see a whole string of planets that are going to be moving into your sign. So it's lighting up your first house. This is going to make you very magnetic. I'm loving the Sun-Jupiter conjunction on the 24th, and then the 25th, the new moon is screaming personal glow up. Something big is happening for you. I think this is a new moon that's all about launching some of your bigger dreams, and it can be work or health or just personally related. And that full moon in your 6th house on the 11th is going to help you refine your health or your work routines a little bit. You just got to prioritize balance there. Now, Mars in your 2nd house has been driving financial ambition, obviously, but it's also been burning, like I said, I think a hole in your guys' pockets. So watch for that square between Mars in your 2nd to Uranus in the 8th house. To me, that's really saying it's warning against any risky purchases that feel impulsive. And then you're going to have the opportunity from the 17th on to really kind of sharpen your words, focus on details when it comes to communications and contracts. And I think that the finale is on the 15th and the 18th. Jupiter in your sign is squaring Saturn as well as Neptune in Aries in your career house. I think that it's fueling self-expression. I think it's fueling new routines, new ways of doing things, new health habits. And really this is about, just being mindful that this is going to be a process, that if you're really going to change your career, completely change something about your status or where you're working or how you're working, that you need to be positive. You need to be optimistic, and you really want to caution against doubt. It's going to take time to see some of the things that's kind of unfolding in your professional life unfold. But if you stay organized, you stay optimistic, anything is possible. All right, guys, I hope that that was helpful for you. Let me pull you a couple of tarot cards and see what they say for this month. Oh, the Empress card. Okay, so obviously, nurturing, mothering, growth. I mean, Jupiter is in like a very feminine, fertile, lunar sign. So it doesn't mean that, all Cancers are going to be like mothers, but you might notice that there's this mother bear personality that's kind of like emerging. So this card is about divine femininity, sensuality, fertility, nurturing, creativity, beauty, abundance, and also nature. So this can mean that this month, the focus here is on nurturing and caring for or creating abundance, right? Which is what Jupiter in your sign is all about, surrounded by beauty as well as love. So I think for a lot of you guys, it can mean that you're really focused on what you're bringing into reality, right? Could be a new job, could be a new relationship, could be a new project. It could be a pregnancy, certainly having aspects that are going on with Jupiter in the first house, or if there's anything that's going on with Mars, which is your fifth house ruler, which will square Uranus. You're taking risks this month, that could definitely happen. But it can also mean that there is an emphasis on a prominent woman, a mother figure, an older sister, somebody like that who's kind of coming in and kind of helping you realize what's important and what you need to be focusing on growing. And also, I see the Emperor is connected to Venus. Venus is like a flower, so this is where you're opening up. Venus is going through your 11th house of friends and allies, and it's going to be sextiling some of the aspects you're going to have in Cancer. So that means that maybe this is about putting yourself out there, networking, connecting with other people, and being where the kind of people that you want to associate with, being around those people and how that's going to influence you and focus on more abundance and beauty and the things that you can grow. Okay. Good luck to you guys. And like I said, if it's your birthday, have a happy birthday. I'll catch you guys back here next month. All right, we've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? Welcome to June of 2025. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited to chat with you about what's coming up in the next month. Now, obviously, you're ruled by the sun, so any solar transits are going to be really significant and really important. And we have quite a beautiful Sun-Jupiter conjunction. So I think that that's going to be probably one of the bigger things that you're going to be wanting to watch for this month, along with the new moon, which obviously is in the same sign, a little bit behind the scenes because a lot of the energy that's kind of connected to the sun and Jupiter and the new moon is in your 12th house. It's going to be more spiritual. It's going to be more quiet. It's going to be more therapeutic and healing. But it's about kind of taking the time to really focus on meditating and nurturing some of those things that will eventually come to light. And you'll see this over the next year, and especially into next year, and Jupiter eventually moves into your sign. So this is your cocoon phase, right? So when, the caterpillar goes into the cocoon and then it's like doing its thing before it becomes a butterfly, that's really how I see like the next month for you. So for some of you guys, it's going to last a month. For some of you guys, it's going to be like, I'm doing this for like the next year because Jupiter is in this part of your chart. But do not fret. This is also like a guardian angel transit where anything that comes to a completion or comes to an end, there's a softening effect where things happen for good reason because Jupiter is looking out for you in the 12th house. So I'll get to that in just a second. Let's start at the top of the chart. We're going to be looking at the Venus ingress into Taurus, which will be taking place on June the 5th. So Venus moving into her home sign is good. This is where she can do her best work. Venus is obviously not just associated with your career. It's also associated with contracts, communication, short distance trips, negotiations, and anything in regards to siblings or relationship communication. So as Venus goes through the 10th house, it's definitely great for connecting and collaborating with people at work, getting a lot of feedback, getting a lot of recognition, seeing success, and really nurturing relationships professionally. The only thing that I would really watch for is as Venus is going through this sign, you are going to see it briefly come into a square with Pluto right off the bat within about a day or two. So this means that while you're kind of having this period of getting a lot of recognition or visibility at work, or people are really supportive of you, this can make other people jealous. This can make a boyfriend, girlfriend, just, spouse jealous. There can also be a sense of them being like, where are you going like dressed like that? Why are you all dressed up? What's going on? Obviously we want partners that support us kind of doing our best work, but Pluto is retrograde, and that means that you've got a partner that's like really going through the motions of some major changes. And if it's not a partner, a business partner, a client, a friend, somebody who's just really kind of going through it, and you're focusing on some of the success and the growth and the productivity that you can be doing out in the world, and you kind of feel like you're like, okay, I need my moment where I'm getting my, recognition, I'm in the spotlight. And I'll also simultaneously, like, I've got somebody who's kind of needing me. So kind of a sweet and salty aspect. Then we're going to move into the 12th house, where you're going to see a god-awful amount of transits this month. And so on one hand, I always tell my clients when planets are going through the 12th house, naturally the month before your birthday, we get quiet. It's almost like a new moon energy, and you will have a new moon here. We get quiet, we reflect, we think about things, we reassess, we decide, what has happened in this last year? What are we taking with us? What are we leaving behind? So think spiritual, think quiet, private space, think nurturing, being home alone with family or with our pets. and having some kind of spiritual practice that can kind of really nurture us emotionally. So on the 8th of the month, Mercury is going to move into this house where maybe you're meditating more, studying more, taking a little bit of a break from socializing or being active like with friends. Then you're going to see on the 9th, then Jupiter goes into Cancer in the 12th house, where there is a need for, closer ties to family. It can be about intimacy as well, something about joint resources and major changes happening for family behind the scenes. Then we're going to see on the 20th, the sun goes into Cancer, and that's going to be about rest and retreat and kind of changes maybe going on with your bedroom, with your family, or with your home. And this is also a very big house for healing. So when the sun's in the 12th house, it can be about you healing. It can also be about spiritual practices, doing some emotional healing or visiting or traveling foreign land. And then you're going to see the sun conjunct Jupiter on the 24th, which I think is going to be one of the bigger days for you. It means that on one hand, there is some gift that's coming into your life, but it's also sparking a huge emotional shift and a change when it comes to vulnerability and intimacy. So it might almost feel like something is ending and something new is beginning when it comes to your home and your family. And then you're going to see the new moon on June 25th, which is going to be in Cancer. And it is the best new moon, I think, all year long because of its conjunction to Jupiter. So Jupiter, on one hand, for a Leo, deals with romance, creativity, self-expression, creativity, children, and then also joint finances, resources, and other people's money. So, a lot of healing can happen when it comes to broken hearts this month. A lot of healing can happen in regards to inner childhood issues. Heart wide open, vulnerability, merger with other people, really falling in love, having some really significant spiritual or family-related things that can happen. But you're keeping it kind of close to the chest, like you're very private with some of the things that are going to be kind of happening this month. Then you're going to see from really the 17th on, Mars is finally leaving your sign, okay? So the first half of the month, Mars is still going through your first house where, you've been reworking some things during the retrograde. You're feeling a little bit more maybe daring, dynamic, going after what you want, traveling, certainly focusing on making some big moves when it comes to your home and your family because Mars is tied to that and property. So, you're nearing the end of that. And I would just say watch, because on the 15th of the month, you are going to be seeing the Mars transit in Leo come into a square with Uranus in Taurus. And there's a little friction between what it is you want to do, what you have to accomplish or get done, or what you're trying to kind of step in and handle when it comes to your own needs or standing up for yourself. And the responsibilities and the kind of pivots and the changes that are going to kind of happen at work. So sparks can kind of fly between you and an authority figure that day. As of the 17th of June on, then for about 6 weeks, you're going to see Mars move through your second house of money, income, and finance. So on one hand, there's more motivation, more push to make money, more drive to focus on security and doing business. On the other hand, I feel like it's a little challenging because it can definitely burn a hole in your pocket. And there can be a lot of expenses and things that are kind of going on. Now, you're going to have a full moon in Sagittarius on the 11th in your 5th house of children, creativity, and self-expression. So obviously for some Leo and Leo risings, big changes revolving around matters of the heart, falling in love, meeting somebody, big accomplishments for your children. It could be that there is a pregnancy or that there is a birth. It is also possible, because of its ties to Jupiter, that there is some kind of connection with being behind the scenes or being there to support a child. So you can have a kid that's having a baby. You could be in hospital, right? Jupiter 12. It's also possible that there could be some, big shifts that are going on. And because you're healing or you're working on stuff emotionally, you have some kind of clearing in the heart space. So that's going to be a pretty significant full moon. And obviously Sagittarius is still a fire sign, so it's going to be trining your sun, moon, or rising. If you have any personal planets in Leo around 19, 20, or 21 degrees. And then you will continue to see Pluto work through its retrograde for the next several months in your house of relationships in your opposite sign. It'll be going retrograde from 3 to back to 1 degrees of Aquarius. So if you are 0 to 4 degrees of Leo, sun, moon, or rising, you're still under a Pluto opposition. And really, this is about a lot of change going on with other people, clients, relationships, partners, spouses. Sometimes it can be friends with Aquarius as well. And so you're still feeling the effects of that, but I feel like you can navigate it. I think you can navigate it. Be interesting to see, like, when the sun and the moon are coming together with the new moon, it's going to be in conjunct or quincunx Pluto. So it can mean that, you're trying to kind of hold space as like a partner is going through like a really significant like turning point or change, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and you're kind of optimistic about some of the changes that are going on. So in a nutshell, Leo, June's really a mix of spotlight with Venus in your 10th and then also like soul work. So keep in mind with Venus going through your 10th, it really will boost your career and your charisma. Great for pitching ideas. When all these planets like Mercury, Jupiter, the sun, and the new moon move into your 12th house, this is really going to be urging introspection mid-month. Now, the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, I think, is going to be the brightest point for you on the 24th, along with the 25th of the new moon. Perfect for meditation or therapy. Now, the full moon in your 5th house is definitely going to spark romance or creative wins and some major, I think, romantic breakthroughs, as well as good news when it comes to children. And I think you'll be glad to say farewell to Mars in your 1st house, even though it's really helped you feel very bold and confident. It's going to kick off with a bang as it squares Uranus. So you really need to be careful on the 15th with any risky or impulsive moves. Stay chill. Don't get reactionary because of something going on at work or with a boss. Once Mars moves into your 2nd house, your focus is on money. And as you continue to watch Pluto retrograde through your 7th house, it's reworking partnerships and time to let go of toxicity. The finale is going to be Jupiter coming into a square with both Saturn and Neptune this month on the 15th and the 18th. This is going to be majorly testing your inner peace. I think Jupiter in the 12th house really needs rest. It needs recuperation. It needs spirituality. And that square to Saturn and Neptune means that it's really pushing you to develop a new spiritual practice. Are you praying? Are you meditating? Are you kind of adopting a new, philosophy or religious or spiritual practice? There's something that needs to be implemented to help you maintain and kind of keep the peace. So my advice is lead at work on the 5th of June. Definitely take some extra time to reflect deeply on the 24th and the 25th. Express your love on June 11th and release any draining ties that you have with other people while Pluto continues his retrograde in your 7th. I hope that's helpful for you guys for the month ahead. Let's give you a card and see what you need to be aware of. Oh, wow. I love this. You get the Emperor card, which is kind of cool. It's like Mars is like finishing up his tour in Leo. This is definitely a sign that's associated with Mars and its correlation and connection with obviously Aries. So maybe it's talking about the fact that, especially if you're an early Leo and Leo rising, you're benefiting from Saturn and Neptune trining your ascendant, where there's stronger commitment, beliefs, maybe, you're finishing an education or you're going back to school or you're publishing a book, or there's something that seems like it's a mountain that you have to climb when it comes to information and learning or your belief system, but you can manage it, you can handle it. And obviously Mars will in conjunct or quincunx that this month, but that's another story for another day. And maybe it's also kind of talking about the fact that, this is that final push where you're kind of getting everything that you need to kind of do out of the way before Mars leaves your sign. So this is a card that's about stability, structure, protection, authority figures, control, focus, discipline, practicality. This is also a card that deals with fatherhood. So father figures, relationship with, partners who, may be fathers, your relationship with a father, if you're becoming a parent, right? And the responsibility that kind of comes with that and being able to kind of navigate and handle everything. So this means that you're taking charge of your life and establishing order and stability, and you have the power and the authority to make things happen. So I would be leaning into some of those trines. I would also say the Jupiter wisdom in the 12th house is knowing that you can lead without being like aggressive and combative. Like Cancer is sensitive and sentimental and it's nurturing. Obviously Aries is not. So it's not just about like, managing things kind of in a heavy-handed way. It's about being compassionate and then also knowing where to draw the line. So maybe you're reflecting on that a little bit more this month. But I definitely think it's going to be a month of healing and reflection for sure. So make sure you guys take the time to do that as you're preparing for your birthday season, which is going to kick off in July. I hope that's helpful, Leo. I'll catch you guys back here next month and enjoy. All right, we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? How are you? I'm excited to chat with you guys because we've got some stuff happening. Obviously, Mercury's on the move, so that's something that's always important to kind of talk to you guys about. And Mercury will be starting off the month in the sign of Cancer. So obviously, your Mercury, more emphasis on anything going on with groups, networks, and your friendships. Family parties, gatherings, get-togethers, seeing your kind of closest and best friends, as well as networking opportunities that you can be doing close to home are likely to come about. And then as we're getting into the latter part of the month, we are going to see Mercury moving into the sign of Leo. And when it moves into Leo, it is going to start going through your 12th house, which is much more quiet, reflective, spiritual. It can be really prominent also for dreams and creative projects behind the scenes, healing in your case, or traveling to foreign lands. It will trigger an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, but I think that this is giving you the necessary insight to overcome any work issues, any hangups you have with coworkers, any schedule problems, health problems. Yes, there can be a little tension in communication, especially if you're traveling and if you're going back and forth with somebody who's in another location or another place. So you're definitely going to kind of want to watch for that. Outside of that, the other thing that you're going to want to be paying attention to is that we are going to see Mars come into your sign this month. So you only get this transit once every 2 years. So this is interesting, especially with the South Node being in your sign. It's got its pros and cons, but, Mars does very well in the first house where it wants to take charge, assert itself, get active. It has lots of drive and charisma and power. Mars is connected to your third house, of communication, siblings, writing, learning, and short distance trips. So I predict that it's going to have you feeling, I gotta go out and do something. I gotta go for a run, or I need to go for a drive, or maybe I need to book a weekend away, And also kind of speed reading, speeding in general, slow down. And also if you feel like you need to make a move, right? That might be something that can come up for you. But it can make you a little bit more bossy in terms of communication. It can make you a little bit more impulsive when it comes to communication, or maybe it brings up some conflict that you can have with neighbors or siblings. Mars is also directly tied to your 8th house, which is going to be about change and transformation. So it's about kind of communicating and talking to other people. Great for therapy, great for anything that's going to be helping you heal or move through fears that you have, or where you feel like you've had some blockages when it comes to intimacy, thinking on your feet, especially when it comes to making some moves financially. All right, so we're going to start the month off in your 9th house at the top of the chart, where on the 5th of June, Venus enters into Taurus. So it will be there for the rest of the month. Venus is at home in this sign. And if you have a Virgo sun, moon, or rising, it will be coming into trines with your placements, which is beautiful, grounding. I love the trines. I think it's going to be really helpful for you guys, especially if you're traveling or if you're studying or anything like that, whatever inspires you, basically. Venus in the 9th is like, love at a distance, upgrading to a much more comfortable, kind of seat when it comes to a flight. It can be about indulging or spending a little bit more money on education or learning. That's where you're going to feel the most comfortable. And Venus does deal with your personal resources and spending. So you're willing to spend that to have a much more luxurious trip, especially if you're doing it with another person, connection to Libra. Then you're going to see a huge slew of planets move into Cancer. Okay, so this is going to be basically all month long, but it's going to start on the 8th of June, where Mercury enters into your socialized communication zone. Then you're going to see on the 9th of the month, then Jupiter goes into Cancer, where this is definitely positive for good news when it comes to your friends that might be getting married, having babies, meeting your partners. Certainly, if you're looking to meet somebody, if you're single, go out, hang out with your friends all summer. They will introduce you to somebody. You will go to a party. You will meet someone, because Jupiter rules your relationships. So if you're committed, you're meeting each other's friends, spending time socializing. If you're not, you got to get out there and you got to mix and mingle, and you'll get connected. The sun will enter into your 11th house on the 20th. And I think that's just going to be highlighting, or maybe you're seeing friends or connections to people who you haven't seen, or if you're traveling and you're in a foreign place, you're making friends. And then on the 24th, the sun will conjunct Jupiter, which can mean that there is some kind of extra good luck that's happening maybe in a social setting or in a group dynamic. Obviously, Jupiter rules the home. It also rules relationships. So there might be a lucky opportunity to meet somebody, to get invited to a backyard barbecue or family gathering. And then you're going to have a new moon in Cancer on the 25th, where you're planting seeds revolving around your goals, socializing, allies, and things like that. And that new moon is very, very close to Jupiter. So it's really saying that there's going to be lots of opportunities to make new friends, mix and mingle, and expand on your goals all year long. Now, we move to the 12th house, where we are going to be seeing up until the 17th of the month, Mars will continue to move through the 12th. Maybe it's been quiet, it's been reflective, or there's been some things kind of stirring subconsciously. But we will see on the 17th of the month, Mars will leave that sign and it's going to go into Virgo. But before it does, on the 15th, we will see Mars and Leo in your 12th house squaring Uranus in the 9th. Some mental stress revolving around studying or traveling. Some mental restlessness can kind of come up as well. Some communication issues, especially if you're traveling in places where you don't speak the language. Flight delays and issues that can kind of come up that can inhibit travel can definitely happen here as well. Then we're going to see, like I said, on the 17th, Mars moves into your sign, where it will stay for about 6 weeks, really focusing on action, drive, dedication, communication, getting things done, and being open to transformation of the body and the mind. Have an outlet, work out, make sure you can kind of get things done. So you're working out some of that Mars energy. Just know that the South Node's in your sign. So you're having to let go of being super overly critical of yourself, hard on yourself, overworking, overdoing it. I think some of you guys are going to start walking, biking, running, jogging. And I would really recommend, if this is something you're going to do, listen to something that's going to be empowering as you do it, because the third house can be things that we learn. Mars off the bat is going to come into an inconjunct and a quincunx with Saturn and Neptune. Neptune can be about relationships and support. Saturn can be about health. I feel like that you have to be really careful with your health right off the bat with this Mars ingress because of the inconjunct or the quincunx. Blood-related things, blood tests, things kind of relating also to, obviously, Virgo can be the digestive tract, detoxes, cleansing. And if you're listening to things that are more spiritual or things that are going to be more like inspiring you, right? You know, while you go for your run or your walk or you're going to the gym, it's going to help you kind of work through emotional or psychological issues at the same time. So it can be really beneficial. You have got a full moon in Sagittarius on the 11th in your 4th house, which is connected to your home zone. And this means that there can be a major change going on with like your home or your family. So think closing on a house, getting your keys to your new apartment, going back home to visit family, some kind of family party, gathering, or get together is likely because the full moon in the 4th is ruled by Jupiter, which will be in your 11th, and Jupiter will be right next to Mercury. So it means that either you're having a party at home or your family says, hey, come home, we're having a celebration, so-and-so is getting married, we're having a baby shower. Maybe you're having a home, warming party. There's some, new home that you have and you're inviting people over. So look for good social opportunities kind of connected to home around that full moon. And you will continue to see Pluto's retrograde move through your 6th house. That'll continue for the next couple of months. This is ongoing changes with health habits and anything that's kind of going on the work front. So just watch for like the Mercury-Pluto opposition. I think that's where you're going to see some sticky stuff in how you're communicating or realizing that something's just not working at work. Something needs to change in regards to your relationship with a coworker, your schedule, or your daily habits. So Virgo, as a recap for you this month, June really, I think, is about adventure. Mars on your ascendant, Venus in your 9th house. This is really inspiring traveling or learning. Expanding your mind is the theme for this month. Now you're going to see that starting on the 8th, and then it goes all the way until mid-month. There is just a ton of planets in your 11th house. So this is really boosting friendships, parties, and social opportunities. I think the Sun-Jupiter conjunction on the 24th and the new moon on the 25th is really, great for group projects. And I would say with the full moon you're going to have in Sag on the 11th, if there have been any home or family issues, likely you can heal that and you can find closure. Watch for Mars moving through your 12th house, stirring up your subconscious until the 17th. And I definitely feel like the Mars square Uranus on the 15th of June could definitely spark some restless dreams. So I would be journaling. As of the 17th, Mars moves into your first house, and this makes you unstoppable. So reinvent yourself and continue to do that through Pluto's retrograde in your 6th, where you're going to have the opportunity to refine some of your routines. We just want to drop perfectionism, all right? And then finally, Jupiter in Cancer in your friendship zone is coming into a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries in your 8th. Honestly, on the 15th and the 18th, when you see these squares, we're going to feel like it's fueling idealism, but it's warning against overcommitting. Emotionally or financially, some of the things that are coming up for you within your social groups, invitations, things that your friends are kind of doing, you're like, do I have the money to do this? Do I feel like I'm ready to kind of get out and socialize? I think that psychologically there can be a lot of changes that are happening for you right now, either at home or with your relationships. And now there's a lot of how do I reemerge and put myself back out there now that I've had these life changes? Is it going to be overwhelming or too much for me? But you have people that want to spend time with you. They want to support you and they'd like to see you. So just try not to overcommit, one step at a time. My advice for you is definitely get some exploration in on June the 5th and connect with your tribe on the 24th and 25th. Focus on healing any home issues under the Sag full moon and simplify your routines with Pluto retrograde in your 6th. Let's see what the tarot has to say for you guys. Oh, wow. I love this with Mars in your sign, 8 of Wands. All right, so 8 of Wands is going to be about movement, speed, progress, quick decisions, as well as sudden changes and excitement. This is a card that is associated with fire, and it's also connected to Sagittarius. So it might mean that you're feeling incentivized under the full moon in your 4th house to make some sudden change. Could be moving, could be rearranging furniture, could be painting the house, whatever, something like that. So basically, there's going to be swift action and progress. And I think that that's definitely the case looking at Mars going into your sign. And Mars's connection and correlation with Saturn and Neptune, I think is going to be saying, okay, my body is ready to make the changes or make the moves, but emotionally or psychologically, how am I feeling about these changes? So how fast is too fast, right? How quickly do things need to change? I think this is also about making great strides towards your goals. And that's definitely true with a new moon in your 11th house of goals, as well as Jupiter moving through that sign. Jupiter is tied to relationships and home. So some of your goals might be kind of related to these things, and you have some kind of support that's coming from a group of people or your friends, or maybe, you see that your friends are getting married or they have a kid or they move to a new area and you're like, wow, I want to do that too. And it inspires you because you see some other people who are close to you kind of going through those changes. So just pace yourself, and I hope you guys enjoy the month of June. I'll catch you back here in July. What's up, Libra and Libra rising? Welcome to your June 2025 horoscope. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited to chat with you about some of the things going on with your chart this month, and we're going to start off with Venus. So Venus is going to be changing signs. We are going to see her move through the sign of Taurus. She's in one of her home signs, and wherever Venus is where you are. This month, Venus is going to be moving through the 8th house in the sign of Taurus. So on one hand, Venus is definitely in a sign where she's comfortable. On the other hand, the 8th house does talk about change, intimacy, joint finances, and rebirth. The transit that you're going to want to watch for the most is going to be when Venus is coming into a square with Pluto in Aquarius. Now, the opportunities with the 8th house is definitely tapping into investments, shared finances that you have with business partners as well as spouses. And it deals with topics like change connected to insurance, change connected to investments, as well as taxes, insurance, and inheritance matters. When planets go through the 8th house, they have to go through a transformation. They need to really focus on intimacy and transparency. Watch for when Venus comes into a square with Pluto. It can be dealing with bringing in resources from things you've invested in, insurance and joint finances relating to children, and big changes when it comes to matters of the heart as Pluto is continuing its retrograde in your 5th house. Now, if you're wanting to do anything that's transformative in terms of your physical body, so this can mean things connected to pregnancy, things connected to cosmetic surgeries, anything connected to just improving your overall well-being and your appearance in a more sacrative manner, this is definitely a good time for that. All right, so outside of that, we're going to be going through house by house and talking about where you're going to see the biggest transits this month. One other thing I want to kind of touch on is that we will also see Venus coming into conjunction with Jupiter. That is going to be happening, but I don't think we're actually going to see that until next month. But as Venus is getting ready to come into, Cancer over the next couple of months, you are going to see the opportunity for some kind of growth. So I think with the Venus in your 8th house coming into a sextile with Jupiter, it's that you're preparing for some of this change. Maybe you're going to be investing more money into the markets. Maybe you're going to be investing more money into your business, and you're seeking ways to be able to bring more resources in. So if you're needing to kind of get loans, or if you're needing to invest in your personal business or even your appearance, it can actually enhance your career. But yeah, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction is not quite yet. That's going to be next month. All right, so we're going to start first with, obviously, other than Venus transiting in your 8th house, which is going to begin on June the 5th. For the rest of June, you're going to see Venus going through this part of the sky, eventually inching up close to Uranus, but you're not going to see that until July going into August, where we see like some of the Venus-Uranus conjunctions, the Venus-Jupiter conjunctions. So you've got a little bit of time before you have some financial shocks and surprises. Now we're going to see on the 10th house, starting in June, around the 8th, there is going to be a whole slew of planets going into Cancer. So Mercury is going to go into Cancer first. That's going to be happening on June the 8th. This is really kind of giving you the megaphone when it comes to making big announcements about your career. Now, Mercury is tied to the 12th house of things that are hidden, behind the scenes, health-related matters, behind the scenes, foreign clients, foreign lands. And Mercury is also connected to promotional things, travel, any kind of connection to celebrations, ceremonies, graduations, as well as your beliefs or legal matters. So with Mercury going into the 10th house, if you're involved in traveling, teaching, or foreign lands, this can be beneficial for you. Then on the 9th of the month, we're going to see Jupiter enter into the sign of Cancer. This happens once every 12 years, so you'll have to kind of go back and think about what was happening in 2013. But essentially, this spells out really good news for your career. Jupiter expands everything it touches, and it's connected to your 3rd house of communication, short distance trips, announcements, as well as learning, siblings, vehicles, and children. So it's possible that you're making a big announcement, dropping a website this month. It can also mean that you're launching a podcast or something new connected to media. Then you're going to see on the 20th of the month, the sun is going to enter into your 10th house, where it's putting the spotlight on your career and your reputation, meeting some of your goals or some wishes kind of coming to light when it comes to your career. And then we see on June 24th, the sun conjunct Jupiter, which is going to be a big moment where you're going to kind of be in the spotlight and you're getting some kind of recognition from groups, maybe participating in group projects at work, or maybe you're just meeting some major professional goal. Then we're going to see on the 25th, a new moon in Cancer. I think this is going to be the most beautiful new moon all year long. We see the new moon in your 10th house of career, where you're setting new intentions when it comes to your professional life, your reputation, as well as some of your professional goals. So if you've ever wanted to do things that are Jupiter related, because Jupiter will be in conjunction, write a book. If you want to start a social media account, if you're wanting to start a new job, launch a business, but also things like becoming a parent, because Cancer can be about that. That's another opportunity that will present itself for you as well. You'll have 6 months to work on that as the new moon turns into a full moon later in the year. Then if we move to your 11th house, you're going to be seeing that Mars is wrapping up its tour in your social zone. We've seen for several months, Mars has been going through there, or there has been more focus on your friendships, connections with other people, going after your goals. Mars is tied to relationships, clients, as well as partnerships, and also money, resources, and spending. Before Mars leaves your 11th house, it is going to make a square to Uranus in Taurus. So watch for that. That's going to be on June 15th, where there can be some friction revolving around friends, allies, and associations, and joint finances and funding. After that point, on the 17th of June, you're going to see Mars go into Virgo, where it's going to spend about 6 weeks in your 12th house. 12th house is all about resting, recuperating, taking downtime. This is also about working behind the scenes. So if you're kind of like working out in a private way, or maybe you're working out or going for walks in nature, working out in like a private gym, this can be positive. This is also a house of healing, and it can be about exploring or going to a foreign land. The downside of the 12th house is it does represent, with Mars here, repressed anger, frustration, feeling under the weather, burnt out, as well as anything kind of connected to hidden enemies. So there can be a lot of sorting and sifting through, hidden financial matters that are coming up in relationships, where there's been some stuff that's kind of rubbing you the wrong way in relationships. And Mars is the ruler of Saturn and Neptune. So right off the bat, it's going to go into the 12th house of things that are hidden and in conjunct or quincunx Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Likely this is going to be either through dreams or subconsciously, or just things that are being revealed to you, exactly who partners are, what they're doing, what their motives are, and what they're doing with money. It can also be about, connections to their health and their habits as well. So you might feel like there's something disjointed and you need a little bit of space from another person. Then we're going to see on the 11th of June, there will be a full moon in Sagittarius in your 3rd house. Now, Sagittarius is friendly with Libra, so it's going to sextile your sun, moon, or rising. And this full moon is an interesting one because it's going to create a grand mutable cross. Usually when we see a full moon in the 3rd house, there's something going on where we have to sign a contract, we're finishing up a website, a personal project, maybe we are learning something new, an important conversation arises, or there can be some kind of shift with siblings, vehicles, or neighbors. At the time of the full moon, the ruler Jupiter is going to be at the top part of your chart in conjunction to Mercury. To me, it looks like there's a big announcement that's likely getting ready to be made, and you might kind of feel like, okay, do I say something or do I not say something? Is it the right time? But I definitely feel like it's a good time to be making announcements, sending out newsletters, or connecting with people at work. Then we're going to continue to see Pluto's retrograde through Aquarius in your natal 5th house, where you are wrapping up or working through power struggles relating to creative projects, children, romantic partners, as well as self-employment, or the kind of inner child and the heart space. So that'll continue for the next several months. However, we do see that Pluto is in positive aspect with Libra. So if you're an early degree Libra, sun, moon, or rising, it's still training your placements. I don't think it's going to be as challenging or difficult for you as some other people. All right, so in a nutshell, right, for the month ahead, I really feel like Libra risings are going to see that this is a major power up month. Obviously, Venus going into your 8th house is going to be about deepening intimacy or financial bonds. This is about really forming trust with other people and exploring ways to be able to bring in more money. Obviously, from June 8th on, we're going to see Mercury, Jupiter, the new moon, and the sun lighting up your 10th house. This is going to skyrocket your career. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening on the 24th and then the new moon happening on the 25th are perfect for promotions happening in your career or some kind of rebranding. The full moon on June 11th in your 3rd house is all about clarifying communication. It's really important to sign contracts, finish any kind of loose ends when it comes to projects. It can also mean that this is a time where you're really needing to focus on, kind of solidifying the details, whether it's a trip or something that involves a business contract or something connected to your siblings. And definitely keep an eye on your vehicles because that can be a theme here as well. As Mars finally leaves your 11th house, you might notice that the party dies down a little bit. But just before, it's going to make that square to Uranus in your 8th house. And what's going to happen here is it's definitely going to spark some kind of group drama. Try to stay diplomatic. I know that's what you're good at doing. On the 17th, then it's going to go through your 12th house. And for many Libra and Libra risings, this is about some much needed rest. Now, Pluto is going to continue the retrograde in the 5th house. So you're reworking romance and releasing anything that you feel like has been dimming your spark. Now, one of the big themes of the month is that even though Jupiter is lighting up your career zone, it is going to come into a square with both Saturn as well as Neptune and Aries in your relationship house. This will be happening on the 15th and the 18th of the month. This is really about a career test. It's asking you to stay sharp. It's also asking you to really reevaluate who you're partnering with, who you're collaborating with, or who you're in a relationship with. The 7th house could be about getting assistance from a manager. It could also be about a therapist helping you. It could also represent that there is a significant new business partnership that might be emerging that's going to allow you to grow and become more successful in your career. But you need people who are going to be in your corner. And it's possible that you're feeling torn between growth in your career and some challenges that you're kind of overcoming with Saturn and Neptune in your relationship house. My advice for the month ahead is deepen the bonds on June the 5th as you see Venus going through your 8th. Definitely focus on playing a major lead role at work on June 24th and June 25th. Set those intentions for growth in your career around the new moon in Cancer, and definitely speak clearly on June 11th at the time of that full moon. This is all about really freeing your creative heart with Pluto retrograde in your 5th house. It is possible that a way that you're creating gets kind of triggered as Mercury moves into Leo later in the month and it opposes Pluto. But try to stand your ground, focus on what's going to make you happy, and try to kind of drown out some of the comments that are coming from other people. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Let's see what the tarot has to say for the month of June. Oh, okay. So you get the Temperance card. This is actually a really great card for healing. And this is also kind of connected to Jupiter as well. This card is really about finding a middle ground and kind of balancing things out. So this is about balance, peace, patience, moderation, calmness, tranquility, harmony, and serenity. So, Jupiter does rule the North Node in Pisces in your 6th house, and Saturn has left, but still with the North Node there, it feels like work, and more work. Whether this is dealing with coworkers, taking care of, stuff at work, managing schedules, managing health, busy work. So as Jupiter goes into your 10th house, there's going to be a lot of that. And Jupiter square Saturn and Neptune is about having moderation in work and also relationships. Mars going through the 12th house is definitely going to be emphasizing rest and healing. So this means that this month it's all about finding balance and harmony in all areas of your life. And you might feel like you need to moderate your behavior or find a middle ground when it comes to an area where you feel like you're overdoing it. If there's been too much togetherness with other people, Mars is going to say it's time to take some time to rest and recuperate. If there's been too much focus on work and career, it means that you might have to lean on others and ask for their guidance and their assistance. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Libra. I hope you enjoy this month, and I'll catch you back here in July. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? Welcome to June of 2025. I hope you're doing well. Excited to chat with you about what is happening in the stars this month. I think the big news, obviously, is that one of your co-rulers, Mars, is going to be changing signs. We're also going to see Pluto continue its retrograde in your 4th house of your home, and it's going to be meeting up with a fierce opposition to Mercury in Leo in your career house. So if we tackle Mars, obviously, as you know, in recent months, we've had Mars retrograde in your career zone. We've had Mars kind of squaring off with Pluto several times, and this is like now the grand finale, where we see Mars in the final moments of your 10th house when it deals with your public persona, relationship with elders, connections with bosses, and you have really had to throw yourself into the spotlight and maybe come out of hiding for a little bit one way or another. What I want you guys to watch out for is going to be on June the 15th, where we see Mars in Leo in your career zone square off with Uranus in Taurus in your relationship zone. Sparks can fly. You can have a little bit of friction because of work stuff with partners, with clients, or allies. And it can also be causing some disruption because Uranus rules your home with what's going on with the flow of home and family related things. And honestly, it's screaming there is a necessary change that has to be made. The question is, will the change be in your relationships with clients or with others, or will the change be at work? The question also is, with Mercury coming into an opposition at the end of the month with Leo, who is going to be able to assist you, because Mercury is going to be connected to your goals, your friends, and your allies, and it will oppose Pluto. So there's going to be some difficult kind of communication stuff that's going to be happening later in the month. Now, when we look at Mars after that, from the 17th of June on, Mars is then going to be moving into Virgo. So it's going to be moving into your 11th house. It's in a sign that sextiles you, which is great. And this means that there's going to be a lot more action with your social life, parties, get-togethers, gatherings. It can also mean that there can be a little bit of turbulence that can be going on with certain friendships and social groups. Virgo is about work, so it's great for work dynamics and working with other people. But it can also be about working out, getting active, going to group classes, or just squeezing in a little bit more social time into your schedule. Something to think about is the South Node is in Virgo. So something that we will have into next month is Mars will be approaching the South Node. Mars can be like a blade or scissors. So it might be that it's time to snip certain friendships and people who you're feeling like you're just kind of growing apart from. So that can be another theme this month. Now, if we kind of go down the list, we're going to start in your 7th house, where on the 5th of June, you're going to see Venus enter into the sign of Taurus. Venus is at home in this sign. It is associated with your relationships, so spouses, partnerships, committed relationships, and it's also connected to things that are secretive in nature, hidden, or behind the scenes. So if there's been a relationship that's been kind of brewing behind the scenes, now it can become a little bit more visible. But it can also mean that people are showing you their true colors. One thing to watch out for is that we will see right off the bat after that, around like the 7th, Venus is going to come into a square with Pluto. You're Pluto, Venus is others. So there is a bit of a dilemma in how you're communicating changes that are going on with you internally, emotionally, or with the family, and how to be able to maintain the peace in relationships. Watch your peace in cues. Then we're going to see moving on to the 9th house, and this is going to be an energy that's going to start around June the 8th. There is a whole slew of planets that are going into Cancer. So this is wonderful in a sense that you have a huge stellium in the sky that is going to be putting an emphasis on another water sign. So that means that it's going to be trining your sun, moon, or rising. Trines are expansive energy. It's very emotional. It's very sentimental. And obviously, in a water sign, it's going to be about increased, family-related things, travel, education-related things, what you're learning about the bigger picture of life, and your intuition might kick up a little bit more. So first, we see Mercury go into the 9th house, where there's opportunities maybe to travel, or there are some travel goals, or maybe you're connecting with friends in other places. Then we're going to see the next day on the 9th, Jupiter is going to enter into Cancer. Now, this is a wonderful transit. Not only is Jupiter exalted in this sign, but it's also at home in the 9th house. So I feel like Scorpio risings are going to get like a double dose of positivity. This is why I'm saying Jupiter, I think, is the luckiest, June is the luckiest month of the year, because we're going to see so much activity in this particular sign. Anyway, just know that trining you is going to help kind of bring a lot more optimism, good luck, and also, I think, deeper willingness to create change as it's trining Scorpio placements. Shortly after that, on the 20th, the sun is going to go into Cancer, and then we are going to see the sun conjunct Jupiter on the 24th of the month, followed by a new moon in Cancer on the 25th. Well, the 9th house is college degrees, traveling. It's going to be about optimism, your spiritual beliefs. It can also be about legal matters, and anything kind of connected to traveling far, especially if you're wanting to move or relocate. This can be another theme. Jupiter is directly connected to your 5th house of romance, children, creativity, and self-expression. So if you're wanting to go on a trip with your family, this is great. If you're wanting to improve or be involved in your children's education, if you're wanting maybe to be more open-minded around the idea of getting married, getting engaged, starting a family, this can also be really positive because Jupiter rules your money, that you're more willing to spend on education, you're more willing to spend on your children, you're more willing to travel for romance, and probably even like traveling in luxury or style. So there's some really great transits that are going to kind of come up in your 9th house. Now, if we move to the 10th house, we talked about how Mars is finally going to leave Leo, where it's been work, and it's going to go into your social zone. Just watch for that square to Uranus, where there could be some friction with clients or some dynamics between work and also your relationships that are showing you where you need to evolve and make a change. Then you're going to spend 6 weeks focusing on socializing, connecting, and kind of working through some dynamic issues in groups or friendships. You'll have a full moon on June the 11th, and this will be in your second house of money, personal possessions, self-esteem, and income. This is kind of the fruit of what has been 6 months towards building towards a financial goal of some kind. Some luxury purchase, something that you've been wanting, having better self-esteem, that kind of stuff. This is a full moon that's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is going to be in your 9th house in Cancer, very close to Mercury. This means that you may likely make an impulse purchase or buy or pull the trigger in investing in something relating to education or traveling. But likely, you have the funds to cover it. You can justify making the expense. And I do think that it's going to be money that's going to be well spent, definitely, especially if you're kind of traveling to go and do something with friends, or if this is a place that you have always wanted to go. And then finally, Pluto will continue its retrograde in your 4th house. This will happen for several months long. If you're a Scorpio Sun Moon rising 0 to 5 degrees, you're still under a Pluto square. So that means that you're still kind of digging deep, reevaluating what needs to change on the home front. So in a nutshell, for my Scorpio risings, June is all about passion, optimism, and also travel. I really think that Venus going through your 7th house, even in spite of some of the squares that you're going to see to Pluto, will sweeten partnerships. If you're single, some of you guys are likely to meet someone. And those of you guys in committed relationships, you could see that there could definitely be more romance, and deals, relationships with other people professionally can really thrive. I'm loving all the energy in your 9th house. I feel like this is inspiring travel or study. And that Sun-Jupiter conjunction is really putting a spotlight for you on fueling big dreams, especially if you have ever wanted to go back to school, if you want to write a book, if you're wanting to travel for work, this is a good time to do it. I definitely feel like the full moon in the 2nd house is going to be about securing your bag and some major payoff, while Mars finally leaving your 10th house is going to allow you to party a little bit as it moves into your 11th. This is definitely going to boost group vibes and give you the opportunity to get the gang together. Definitely be present with some of the healing that needs to happen on the home front with family. Let go of things that are no longer serving you. Be willing to kind of make peace with the past, because you have a brand new reset that's kind of coming through, especially with Jupiter, which will be making aspects to your ascendant. And then finally, we are going to see Jupiter in Cancer in your 9th house, making a square to Saturn and Neptune in Aries in your 6th house. This is a little tricky because on the 15th and the 18th, it's definitely inspirational, travel happy, very much connected to optimism and joy, but it is squaring Saturn and Neptune. So this means that it's warning against escapism. It's warning against stalling and not getting your work done, or not kind of following a timeline, or maybe not focusing on productivity. You have to really schedule travel, I think, very carefully. Like, I'm just coming out of this square, so I can tell you, like, there's a lot of wanting to go places and do things with Jupiter in the 9th. But there's work to be done. There's health stuff to deal with. There is stuff going on in regards to employees and stuff that's happening in the office, or pets that need to be taken care of that might feel like it's kind of squashing some of your plans. So double and triple check anything that you guys are booking this month. My advice is for you guys is, especially around the 5th of the month, really focus on relationships, focus on bonding and connecting with somebody where you can have a lot of love and intimacy. And on the 24th and 25th, this is where you want to chase after your dreams. Focus on budgeting around the full moon in Sag on the 11th, and definitely lean into Pluto's retrograde. Heal those home ties, because Pluto is nudging you to do that. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Let's see what the tarot says for the month of June. Oh, wow. What a great card, especially with that full moon in your 2nd house. 10 of coins. Yeah, as a Scorpio sun, I will take this. Yes. This is about your legacy. This is also about roots, family, ancestry, inheritance, windfall, foundations, privilege, affluence, stability, and tradition. But those of you guys who know, coins is money, resources, stability, health, and abundance. So to me, it looks like this is all about maybe receiving something. It's, for some of you guys, it can be some kind of inheritance, that can be coming through. For others, it can be finally getting recognized for all of your hard work and it's starting to pay off. For others, it's really putting the importance on family. Pluto retrograde is saying that. Saturn's also the traditional ruler of your fourth house. And with Jupiter squaring it, it's also saying like, you know, what are you willing to work hard for? If you want to move, if you want to get married, if you want to start a family, if you're wanting to travel, whatever it is, you need money to do these things. And in order to make the money, you got to work hard for it. So it's really kind of saying it's time to start thinking about these long-term plans. And I do think for many of you guys, you're going to see a pretty significant financial breakthrough, not only because you're going to see the full moon in the second house, but Jupiter rules your second house, and it's going to be an aspect later this year to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So you'll see a lot of these things coming full circle, even as we get later into 2025. I hope that's helpful for you, Scorpio. I hope it's as abundant as it looks. You guys will have to let me know, and I'll catch you back here in July. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? Welcome to June 2025. This is your horoscope. I'm excited to talk to you guys because Jupiter is changing signs. So this is really exciting for you as you are ruled by Jupiter. So wherever Jupiter goes is where you are. It changes signs roughly every year. I want you to think back to 2013 because this was the last time that you had Jupiter transiting through the sign of Cancer. Well, it's sweet and salty, okay? So we're going to start with the sweet. The sweet is that Jupiter loves being in Cancer. Even though that's like your homeboy, it's exalted in Cancer, which means it's the best of the best. So Jupiter makes things bigger, okay? It enhances things, and Cancer is a water sign. So it's emotional and it's sensitive. It's very different than the energy of Sagittarius. And truth be told, the 8th house is a blind spot because it in conjuncts or quincunxes your ascendant. So this is going to be highlighting all year long, but especially this month, emotions, change, endings and beginnings, rebirth, intimacy, vulnerability, and access to other people's wealth. So some of these things you will not see coming. The downside is that the 8th takes and it gives, right? And likely you see them kind of back to back. We're also going to see later in the month that Jupiter will come into a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So you're going to have to be bold. You're going to have to be brave and be believing that some of these things that are changing are for the best. All right, so we're going to kick off the month by looking at your 6th house on June the 5th when you have Venus enter into the sign of Taurus. So Venus likes being in this sign. Obviously, it's about beauty and pleasure and indulgence and luxury. And it's going to be moving through a house where sometimes it does not fare very well. So the 6th house is about blood, sweat, and tears. It's also about sacrifices sometimes, servicing other people. This is about your office space, your coworkers, your pets, your health, and your to-do list. So I want you guys to get stuff done in a way that feels pleasurable and comfortable. Organization can be beautiful, right? Work can be meaningful. You know, bring in some plants and some crystals to your workspace, spruce things up a little bit, maybe buy something sweet for your coworkers so we're kind of getting on well with everyone. Maybe spoil your pets a little bit, you know, and focus on health and wellness because it's about treating that from the inside out. Venus is connected to friends and networks and associations. So there could be great opportunities to be doing some work networking. And also Venus has a connection to the 6th traditionally. So I do think that this is great for like meeting with stylists, working with a new hairstylist, kind of improving something about your health or your wellness, checking in with doctors, especially if it's like cosmetic stuff related. I think it can be pretty good. Now, if we move on to the 8th house where there is going to be jam-packed energy, and what you're going to see is Jupiter's finishing its tour in your 7th. So there's been a lot of relationship stuff, meeting people. Some of you guys have bettered your relationship with your siblings or your neighbors. Some of you guys have met a significant other. Some of you guys have had big relationship changes. It depends, but that's wrapping up now. So starting on June the 8th, this is when Mercury, your relationship and career lord, moves into the 8th house. There is a need to be more intimate in terms of communicating and talking about what's going on with finances, money, emotions, home, and family. Maybe there's changes going on in these departments that's impacting your relationships or your career in some way. I know this is going to come right off the bat of having had Jupiter and Mercury in conjunction. So a lot of you guys are going to have a big turning point in a relationship, and then it's going to be, okay, how does this impact the family or our money in some way? Then on the 9th of June, Jupiter enters into the 8th house. On the 20th of June, the sun enters into the 8th house. And on the 24th, the sun will conjunct Jupiter in your 8th house, followed by June 25th, where there is a new moon in your 8th house. So, I think that Jupiter being here is really going to be saying it's time to peel back all of the layers and all of the things that maybe we've been afraid to talk about. So it's great for finances, talking about credit scores, dealing with debt. It's also great for changing and transforming the home or remodeling things. Truth be told, usually a Jupiter transit in the 8th house, you will receive something from someone. So you can get an inheritance, you can get a big tax refund, your partner could get a boost in income. Maybe because, you're buying a house, selling a house, moving in with a partner, something's going on, you're making more money, or you're able to save more money, right? Or you're gifted something from family. Anyway, all of these things tied together or saying that you need to really be practicing vulnerability in order to allow some of this stuff, some of this abundance to come your way. Intuition can kick in, but this is also where healing happens. So if you've been wanting to work with a therapist, work with a healer, this can be a wonderful time to do that because it's all about change and transformation. Then you're going to see in your 9th house, Mars is kind of wrapping up its tour here, where obviously in recent months you've had retrogrades, there's been oppositions to Pluto. Maybe there has been some delays with traveling. Maybe there's been some challenges with education. Maybe there's been an extended vacation. I don't know. But it's now finishing up its tour before it goes into your 10th house. Before that happens, you're going to see on the 15th of June that Mars in your 9th house is going to square Uranus. And this is not a good time for applying to schools. It's not a great time for any health matters because it might kind of create some scheduling issues. If you're trying to travel for work or if you're trying to make some, changes in regards to your health or routine, there's just going to be some setbacks or some delays. So kind of watch for that. And then on the 17th, Mars will leave Leo and go into your 10th house in Virgo. Mars does well in this house. This is like 6 weeks of just like kicking ass at work, being seen, getting a lot more recognition, being competitive, and a fine focus to detail. The challenge is that Mars rules your 12th house, where it's about self-undoing or things that are kind of happening behind the scenes or things you don't see coming. And it's also connected to the 5th house, which is about happiness, creativity. So it's good to apply more creativity into your work. It's challenging because it's saying that you're wanting to be more creative or enjoy work, but it's going to feel like a lot of responsibility, 10th house. And Mars will in conjunct and quincunx Saturn and Neptune. So you might feel like, well, I want to do something more creative or I want to work for myself. Okay, there's the motivation to do it. But if you have kids, Saturn and Neptune in the 5th, or if you are, maybe dealing with some romantic challenges, it can feel like it's difficult to kind of keep your mind focused at work. Anyway, use this to your advantage. I think you can get a lot of work done with Mars in the 10th house. At some point, in the next several weeks, going into July and August, you'll see Mars coming into conjunction with the South Node. So for some of you guys, it could mean that there is impending layoffs at work. There is, I'm getting ready to take some time off, or I'm overworking, I'm working too much. And you may deal with that and kind of wrapping up things connected to the past at work as well. There can be also some challenges with like superiors and bosses, so be mindful of that. We will see on June 11th, there's going to be a full moon in your sign. So you only get one of these per year. And, full moons, you got to go back and look at what happened with the new moon in Sagittarius season in 2024. That planted a seed. Now it's becoming a full moon. So when you have a full moon on your ascendant, you're emotional, right? You're wearing your emotions on your sleeve. There can be big personal changes, glow-ups, changes going on with your body and your appearance. And this is going to be ruled by Jupiter, which will be in your 8th house of change and transformation, conjunct Mercury. So it looks like you're very emotional about a home or family change. However, a family member is going to be there to support you. A partner, if you're in a relationship, is there to support you. Maybe you're getting very emotional about the fact that you're going through some kind of personal ending or change, can be with a home or with your family. And just be mindful that whatever is kind of wrapping up, like, yes, something might be ending financially or at home or even at work. Mercury is connected to work, but it's offering you a new beginning. And you're going to have some security or some support that's going to come through to kind of help cushion some of the changes that are going to be taking place. Then you're going to see Pluto continue his retrograde in your third house in the sign of Aquarius. If you're an early degree Sag rising, 0 to 5 degrees, it's still sextiling your placements. So the retrograde's not going to impact you guys, I think, as much. It may kind of represent that there is this reworking, rethinking how you communicate, how you connect with your siblings and your neighbors. Having to reconnect with these people might happen. And something that you're returning to kind of learn. And you're learning not to let like the negative chatter kind of enter into your space that's impacting your ability to move forward. So in a nutshell, Sag, this is your time to soar. It may feel like there's some growing pains that are going to be coming up, especially because Jupiter in your house of transformation will be squaring Saturn and Neptune. But I believe that the full moon in your first house on the 11th is redefining you in some way, and it's helping you step into your truth, even if that's scary, even if you have to release some kind of secret, or even if you have to let something go. Thankfully, Venus moving through your 6th house is really going to streamline work and also health. So I want you to prioritize wellness while all these planets, including the Sun-Jupiter conjunction and the new moon and Mercury, are going to be moving into your 8th house. This is all about being transparent and deepening bonds and intimacy with others, as well as financial opportunities. So applying for loans, dealing with debt, receiving inheritances, or dealing with tax matters are going to be big themes. I believe that the new moon and the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is unlocking abundance, making it possible for you to travel or go back to school. Now, Mars going into your 10th house is definitely going to be a time that you are focusing on your career wins. Just keep in mind that is in a sign that does square you. So there can be a sense of you still coming off of the Uranus squares where there has been maybe some impulsive leaps that have been happening with travel. Try to kind of take a step back on the 15th and not be impulsive. And I think that it's all about sharpening your communication with Pluto retrograde. One other thing is like that Jupiter square to Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house, which will be happening on the 15th and the 18th of June, is going to be testing your emotional depth. It is trying to kind of like resuscitate the heart space and get you to open up and be vulnerable and share and be emotional. And like that can be scary for you, but it also is going to provide, I think, a lot of depth for you to go deeper in a relationship. So my advice is expect a glow up on the full moon on the 11th, deepen bonds June 24th and 25th. Definitely organize your routines this month starting on the 5th. And speak with purpose whenever you have the opportunity to do so. All right, well, hopefully that's helpful. Let's see what cards I pulled for you guys for the month of June. Two of Cups. Are you guys finishing the Jupiter in the 7th house transit like with a bang, where there's like a real significant relationship? I could kind of see it for some people being like, I just met somebody and now my relationship gets tested because I had a loss in the family, or I quit my job, or I met them right when I was going through a big change. And like, yeah, that's usually what happens with 8th house transits. But this is a card that is about unity, partnership, attraction, connection, close bonds, joining forces, and mutual respect. So this can be, okay, new love relationship and opportunities are coming in, but this can also be like a financial partnership. This can also be about finding balance and being able to work with another person in some way. So when this card comes up, it's about harmony and connection. And this is about forming a deep and meaningful connection with somebody who shares your values and your goals. So I'm wondering, who is that going to be with? Is it with family? Is it going to be with a romantic partner? Is it going to be with a spouse? Is there some new financial relationship that you're developing? You know, certainly Mercury can be somebody who you consult with to do your taxes or do financial planning. But there's some meaningful connection that's going to be coming this month. So I hope you guys are open to it and you enjoy. I'll catch you back here in July. All right, we've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, Capricorn? How you guys doing? Well, sweet and salty aspects. You know, I think the sweet outweighs the salty, but definitely a little bit of you dealing with some energy that's all over the chart, as with all of the cardinal signs, with Jupiter going into Cancer, with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So it's interesting that Saturn rules your chart, right? And Saturn is also the focal point of a T-square between your ascendant, or if you're like the first 5 degrees of Capricorn, and also the Sun and Mercury and Jupiter in the 7th house. So not only is Saturn in superior position to Jupiter, which means you're in charge, but also, it is saying you have to deal with root issues first. You have to deal with home issues first. You have to deal with the past or family first before things can grow in a relationship sense, before you can meet somebody, before you can get married, all that stuff. So depending on where you are, it's going to be an interesting transit. Also, Saturn is now in a new sign. How you guys doing? Saturn does not perform well in Aries because Saturn wants to commit. It wants to be responsible. It wants to take on some kind of a job. And in Aries, it's dealing with something that it wants to rush through. It's in unfamiliar territory. It's something it's never done before. So I think for a lot of you guys, it can feel very emotionally heavy with Saturn in the 4th house, with home and family stuff, with property dealings, with taking care of parents, maybe living on your own for the first time in that responsibility. And that connection that it's making to Neptune, it will be conjunct Neptune off and on all year, is saying for some of you guys, you're like, my family is all gone. What am I creating? I no longer live at home anymore. Where do I want to live? For some of you guys, you're moving back home and you're like, okay, I'm here. Now what do I do? Am I ever going to meet anybody? So it can feel a little heavy. Try to stay open to the fact that the squares to Jupiter means that your relationship with a 7th house person, whether it's a new partner you make, your spouse, it could be a therapist, it could be a relationship with your mom, can actually be improving because you live closer by or because you're going to be around there, or your relationship with an existing partner can actually benefit through making some concessions and kind of downsizing when it comes to the home base. So just full disclosure, I've had this transit, and when I had this transit, I wanted to move. And I didn't know where I wanted to go. And I just decided I'm going to move. And then Jupiter went through and made aspects to my 7th. And then I ended up meeting somebody who ended up being my husband. And where I thought I was going to move ended up being a different place. So at the other side of the transit, it was a really good transit. But you don't see that until you're on the other side. So try to stay open to some of these new people who are going to come in and kind of help you. All right. So we're going to start at the top of the month in your 5th house. And we're going to see a lot of planets moving through Earth signs this month, which is really good for you because you're going to be feeling some of the trines that are going to be impacting your sun, moon, or rising. So starting on June the 5th, you're going to see Venus move into Taurus in its home sign in the 5th house. 5th house is romance, creativity, children, taking chances, hobbies, dating. So if you're single, get out, mix and mingle. I'm seeing really good relationship transits for Capricorn risings. Venus is also connected to work and responsibility, or anything connected to your career. So if there is social gatherings, parties, events, things like that for work, I would do it. I would also say anything entertainment, music, or performance-based, art galleries, food sampling, whatever, restaurant openings, go to these things. It will not only improve business, but you may also meet somebody significant. Then you're going to see on the 8th of June, we're going to now move to your 7th house, where there's going to be a ton of energy going through your opposite sign of Cancer. It starts with Mercury entering your 7th house, which is going to definitely bring up lots of relationship communication. Maybe it's mingling and mixing with clients. Maybe it's helping you find a job, going to interviews. Maybe it's going to be about traveling, but it's going to give you the opportunity to meet other people. Now, after that, you're going to see Jupiter move into Cancer on the 9th, which is a whole year of, I call this the man buffet transit. So if you're a single Capricorn rising, get ready. Jupiter can be about a husband. 7th house is going to be about expanding relationships and bringing potential suitors in. Jupiter does represent foreigners or something that you don't see coming, or maybe if you're in an existing relationship, things coming out about an existing relationship that you didn't know before, that you're just like, wait, what? And it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that you're finding out certain truths about these people that you weren't aware of. And now with the square to Saturn, you have to decide, do you still want to live with them? Do you want to marry them? Do you want to stay with them? Do you still want to see them? So you're going to have to work through that. But Jupiter will be here all year long. So inevitably during this transit, it's going to bring you good opportunities to enhance relationships. On the 20th, the sun is going to come into your 7th house, lighting up your relationship zone. And this is really, I think, about change and vulnerability and being kind of a little bit more intimate with other people. And the sun will meet Jupiter on the 24th. And this could be a life-changing opportunity to meet somebody that just rocks your world. It could also mean that it is marking the ending of one relationship and the beginning of a new one. Just after that, on the 25th, you have a new moon in your relationship sector. And this is an interesting one because I do think it's one of the better, or if not the best new moon all year, planting a seed for new relationship opportunities, conjunct Jupiter, especially if you want to meet foreigners or if you're wanting to work with a new hypnotherapist, therapist, or a healer. You can set those intentions, but it will be square Saturn and Neptune in your sign, which means if you're not willing to get out of the past, get out of the house, get out there and meet people, you don't get to play the game. All right, so just something to kind of think about. There is a huge emphasis on relationships, and that doesn't mean that you have to meet somebody in the month of June. That new moon is going to prompt 6 months opportunity for other relationships to come in. In future months, we still have to see, Venus come in conjunction with Jupiter. We will also see with the moon making aspects to Saturn, somebody might come in that you're a little unsure of. So try to keep an open mind. Moving on to your 8th house, we're going to see Mars complete its tour in your 8th house, where it's been a lot of dealing with back and forth over finances. Maybe there's been changes going on with joint income. Maybe you've been back and forth over an inheritance or a tax matter. Maybe there's been a lot of changes going on with your friends or with your family, especially if there's been struggle over handling a family matter or a property matter. We're finally going to start to see this wear off. But before Mars changes signs, it is going to come into a square with Uranus in Taurus, and this is going to be happening on the 15th. So be careful when it comes to taking risks financially or in matters of the heart. After that, on the 17th, Mars will then enter into Virgo. So it's going to be moving through another Earth sign, which will be really positive for the next 6 weeks for my Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Risings, because it'll make trines to one of your placements. Now, Mars in the 9th house is very bold, dynamic. It wants to get out there, travel. It's willing to put up a fight legally. It wants to learn. And it may be potentially traveling and going back home or visiting, people in other places. It could also mean that you're just in and out of airports. Maybe you're traveling for work, or there is definitely a huge focus on your educational pursuits. We will see a full moon in Sagittarius, which will be happening on the 11th of the month. And this will be happening in your 12th house of what is hidden, subconscious, and behind the scenes. Very spiritual, very mystical, and magical. What's interesting about this full moon is it doesn't make an aspect to your ascendant if you're a Cap rising. So it can be a time where you're like, I just need to close the windows, close the doors, go to bed, kind of just be on my own, or maybe explore, travel. And it can be a very spiritual time. However, the ruler of this moon is Jupiter, and Jupiter will be conjunct Mercury in your 7th house. So it may bring clients from foreign lands, relationships from foreign lands. It can bring some unexpected conversation with a partner or a family member that's like, oh, I didn't even know that. What do you like? There's some information that comes out that you were not aware of. And it can be about legal matters, travel, or health or wellness. There could also be job proposals that can be coming from that full moon as well. And then finally, you will continue to see Pluto retrograde in Aquarius in your 2nd house of money, resources, and personal possessions, where you are working through some money stuff, you're working through some self-esteem stuff, and you're reassessing your relationship with your values. So in a nutshell, Capricorn rising, I really feel like this is a month that is really bursting with a lot of opportunity if you let opportunity in. Certainly Venus in your 5th house is going to be all about sparking romance and creativity. And I would definitely say plan fun dates. Starting on June the 8th, we see a whole slew of planets go through your 7th house, majorly transforming relationships. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction and the new moon can definitely attract soulmates. The full moon on the 11th in your 12th house may bring some kind of spiritual clarity in regards to a relationship. It's important to meditate on releasing your fears. And Mars going into your 9th house, I think, is definitely going to be bringing opportunities when it comes to feeling inspired in regards to travel or study. Focus on boosting your self-esteem and valuing yourself with Pluto's retrograde, and try to really be aware on the 15th and the 18th, because Jupiter in your relationship house is going to be squaring Saturn and Neptune. And when Jupiter is squaring Saturn, this is a therapist, a romantic partner, a wise grandma, somebody who's saying, you got to get out there. You got to get out of the past. You got to meet somebody, you got to work with a therapist, get out of your comfort zone. I really feel like this is about fueling love, but cautioning against idealizing people, moving in too quickly, or making radical life changes. My advice for you guys is focus on romance, especially around the 5th of June. Look forward to opportunities to bond with people, existing relationships or new ones around the 24th or 25th. Take time to be alone and reflect on the 11th. Light some sage, watch a movie, take a nap, and be willing to let people know what's on your mind and continue to build confidence throughout the month. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you guys for the month ahead. Oh, the card that you get is the Ace of Wands. I love that Saturn is in Aries, your sign, and you get the Ace of Wands. So new beginnings, right? And new beginnings being brought on by the vision and the optimism of Jupiter in the 7th. I don't know, Jupiter in the 7th is like a wise, like grandma, an aunt, a sister, somebody who's like going to give you information, and they're going to be like, you know what you don't see about yourself, or what you're missing, or like the purpose of something. Somebody's going to give you some advice like that and kind of like help put a fire under your butt so you kind of get the show on the road. This is about inspiration, creative spark, initiative, energy, new passions, and enthusiasm. So when this card comes up, it's about feeling inspired and seeing new opportunities and being called to take action and seize the moment. In a love sense, it can be about passion and inspiration coming in. For career, it can be about ambition. For finance, it's financial opportunities. I think there is lots of opportunity in the 7th. I think there's lots of opportunity in the 9th when it comes to travel. I think the challenge is that you've got Jupiter squaring Saturn, and you've also got Mars that's going to in conjunct or quincunx Saturn. And maybe you're going to have to take a trip, or you're going to have to do some traveling or something to just kind of clear your mind, especially if you're feeling bogged down and being at home. So when the inspiration or the travel bug hits, listen to that impulse. It's okay to give into that because you need to get some perspective when it comes to making some of these big decisions when it comes to the home front or your relationships. Good luck, Capricorn. I hope that's helpful, and I'll catch you back here next month. All right, we got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's up, Aquarius? How's it going? Well, obviously, I talked to you about what's happening with your chart ruler, and there's going to be a lot of things that are kind of happening, whether we're looking at Uranus, we're looking at Saturn, we look at Pluto retrograde in your sign. So yeah, I think that for you guys, when I look at what's happening in June, I think about, Uranus hitting a critical degree, and it's going to be sitting at 29 degrees before it's getting ready in July to go into Gemini, which is going to be a great transit for you guys. You're going to have a ton of fun, but you might feel like there is some critical turning points and things that are either needing to happen that are uncomfortable or are suddenly happening when it comes to your home and your family. Physically, financially, moves, instability, that stuff can kind of be happening. Just emotionally, you can feel a little on edge. Then we also see Saturn, which is your traditional ruler, now in Aries, which is in harmony. It sextiles your sun, moon, or rising. If you're an early degree Aquarius, it's also sextiling Pluto. So you may not notice some of the heaviness of it, but it is conjunct Neptune. So it is putting an emphasis on clarity when it comes to learning, communication, dealing with siblings, dealing with neighbors, driving around, planning trips, websites, phone calls, meetings, emails, and it's a little bit more serious. So got a number of things that are kind of happening in this department. And then finally, Pluto is still retrograde in your sign. It's going to be like this for the next couple of months. So it's definitely a lot of reevaluating your own personal power, your health, your direction when it comes to your purpose, your career, and your assertiveness and whether or not you're fighting change, right? So you got a lot going on. We're going to start off with Venus and Taurus in your 4th house. So Venus will enter into your 4th house on June the 5th, and she's very happy in this sign. She's at home. So this is great for like beautifying your space, planting trees, bringing in plants, crystals, new art, anything where you're improving your kitchen, putting flowers in the house, buying beautiful things essentially. And Venus is going to be about family or relationships from afar. So sometimes when Venus is in the fourth house, family comes to visit, a partner from far away comes to visit, an in-law comes to visit. And what? They bring you sweets, they bring you cakes, they bring you, a pretty new vase, something like that. And I think it can be very enjoyable. Off the bat, though, around like probably the 7th, you're going to see Venus square Pluto. So that means that there is going to be some things that are evolving in the home, which can be really nice, but it may not be your style. Okay, so you're like, I don't really know if I like the curtains my spouse picked out, or this isn't really what I wanted. And there's some power struggle revolving around something going on at home. Be nice. And you will see for the rest of June, Venus is going to move through the 5th house. So it will be, I think, a really nice transit for the most part once you get over the Pluto square. Then we move on to your 6th house, where you're going to be seeing a ton of planets coming into this sign. So it's going to be in conjunct or quincunx you. Cancer is more emotional, home and family related stuff. Also, 6th house is health, habits, and routine, and that's going to be in conjunct or quincunx your sign, including right off the bat, Pluto. So this is going to be about improvements that are being made to your health or your wellness, or your job or your office space, and it's about how you're adjusting to those changes. So it's good for you in a sense because Jupiter is exalted, but it also might feel like uncomfortable where some of you guys are like, well, I'm improving my health by going to the gym and like, I don't like doing it, but I'm going. Or, I had to go and get physical therapy after having a surgery and I know it's good for me, but it's like, it's not something I want to do. It's going to be interesting because it's going to start with Mercury first going into your 6th house, where there's going to be opportunities to check in with doctors, have meetings, talk to your fellow employees, get organized, and trying to make organization, health, or productivity something that's fun. You might also be helping or assisting children or romantic partners in some way, or trying to organize things connecting to finances. Then on the 9th, Jupiter goes into this house, which means it's definitely about managing wealth and resources. It's the ruler of your 2nd house and the North Node. Maybe if you own a business, your business is expanding. Maybe you're spending more money on doctor's visits, gym memberships, organic food, prescription medication, or making improvements maybe to your home that's going to be better for your health and your wellness overall. Shortly after that, on the 20th, the sun moves into the 6th house. Then Jupiter comes in conjunction with the sun on the 24th, and then you have a new moon on the 25th. So, this is all kind of saying it's going to be good things, but it's going to require health, patience, determination. And I think the Sun-Jupiter connection is going to be about finding that a partner is helping you with a health or work matter. It could also mean you're hiring an assistant, or you're hiring a new crew member, or you're working maybe with a new doctor. There could also be a new pet that can be coming in through the 6th house as well. And then we're going to see, if we move on to your 7th house, finally, Mars is leaving Leo. So where there's been like probably some drama or like a lot of action and like back and forth with somebody. We've had Mars retrograde in opposition to Pluto several times, where maybe there's tension with a romantic partner, a creative collaborator, a spouse, or with a child. Now Mars is finally finishing its tour in your relationship house, where you're not going to have so much like back and forth conflict. The challenge here is that it's going to go off with a bang. And on the 15th of the month, Mars in your relationship zone is going to square Uranus in your home zone, you or Uranus. So there's going to be one final push to see like, okay, are you going to get out of your comfort zone? Maybe your partner is saying, maybe it's time for us to move, or maybe your therapist is saying, maybe it's time to finally make amends with what happened with your parents, and they're kind of pushing you to kind of evolve right before Uranus goes into your 5th house. So there is some kind of nudge coming from another person. I would just say don't push any buttons those days and try not to be reactionary when it comes to other people. And then on the 17th of June, Mars will go into Virgo in your 8th house. Now, Mars performs very well in the 8th house. It's great for handling investment matters, getting, invoices paid, going to bat with insurance companies for reimbursements. It can also be great for sex and intimacy. or research. And Mars is great when it comes to doing research, when it comes to like reading or writing, and searching for documents and paperwork and things like that. Mars is also connected to your career. So if you're seeking over the next several months to, invest money into your business, to get investors, to cash out on investments you've made, to be fighting for, bonuses or higher pay or salary, to be paying down debt, or heal, this can be a wonderful transit. Then if we move to your 11th house, there will be a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius on the 11th. And this full moon is going to be an interesting aspect. It's going to square the north and the south node, and it's also going to make an opposition to the sun. So this is going to materialize as a grand mutable cross, which is going to be about change. The 11th house full moon can be a party. It could be a celebration. It can mean that there is some significant get-together or gathering or goal fulfillment can be happening here as well. Team meetings and big, a big push maybe for one of your goals can be happening at this time. The ruler is going to be Jupiter, which will be in your 6th. So it's about kind of getting on a schedule. It's about productivity. Maybe there's something going on with a friend and they need some kind of help in some way, or you have a friend that's going through an excruciating change or loss or like life-altering experience, and you're like trying to be there for them in some way. So that's possible as well, as much as I hate to say that. But I think that I would really focus, just to kind of wrap this up, on Pluto retrograde in your sign, especially if you're in Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, 0 to 5 degrees. You're under a Pluto transit. It's by conjunction, so it's the strongest aspect in astrology, and you're still reworking or redefining who you are and who you want to be out in the world. So in a nutshell, for Aquarius risings, this is a month that can be very grounding if you allow it to be, as well as transformative. Enjoy Venus going through your 4th house. I think it's going to help you create a very cozy home vibe. So definitely bond with family or redecorate if you can. From the 8th of June on, there is just a major revamping going on in your 6th house. And I think the Sun-Jupiter connection might actually kind of clarify for some of you guys around the 24th and then the 25th when you have a new moon, something regarding streamlining your work and your health. The full moon on the 11th, like I said, it is going to be about friendships. Keep the real ones, right? Whoever's there for you, you might decide to just kind of release the other ones. And Mars leaving your 7th house is going to be with a bang. So watch out on the 15th for any drama. Try to stay calm if somebody's trying to ruffle your feathers. And I do think that Mars in the 8th house can be sexy. It can definitely give you guys from the 17th on an opportunity to have more intimacy and pleasure, and work with Pluto's retrograde in your 1st. And on the Jupiter square Neptune and square Saturn, this is gonna test your routines a little bit. How committed are you to being consistent with work, health, productivity, all of these things, like really improving your office space or improving your business or improving your lifestyle? By doing that, you can do it through 3rd house things, journaling, biking, walking. It could also be about just literally tracking your steps, being mindful of what you're eating, walking things, using apps to kind of help you kind of stay on top of that. So don't let yourself become too harsh and critical. Saturn and Neptune can be very critical. Like, give yourself, a pat on the back for the small steps that you take in bettering your health or your routine. So my advice is, starting on the 5th, start beautifying your home, refine your routines the 24th and 25th. Go to a party, socialize, be with a friend around the full moon in Sagittarius, and work with Pluto and let Pluto continue to help you evolve and redefine who you are. All right, so let's see what the cards have in store for you for the month ahead, my Aquarius and Aquarius risings. Oh, I like this card for you. Ace of Coins. In retrospect, that kind of makes sense. This is a card that's about physical things. So it can be about health. It can be about wealth. It could be about purchases. It could be about some kind of building process. Jupiter, after all, is associated with money. So I know sometimes more money, more problems. But as Jupiter goes into your 6th house now, what are you spending money on? Are you investing in your health? Are you having to work with a financial planner? Are you expanding your office? Is there a ton of work coming in and so you're making more? I think it could be about scaling some businesses personally. But the Ace of Pentacles is about new opportunities, resources, abundance, prosperity, security, stability, and manifestation. Super good with Mars going into your 8th house, where it's like if money is owed to you, it's going to come due. This card also says that it's about material abundance. You're on the cusp of a new venture, an opportunity that has the potential to bring financial and material prosperity. So I think it's great for health. I think it's also good for business. But in a career, it could be a new job. Certainly Jupiter going into the 6th could be that. Or an advancement or some kind of material success. And financially, it's about stability, a new investment opportunity that may appear. So usually within about a month is when you start to see this stuff kind of come up. So let me know if that manifests for you guys. Keep me updated. I'll catch you back here in July. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. What's up, Pisces? Welcome to your June 2025 horoscopes. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited to chat with you. Obviously, we've got lots to talk about because there's something going on with both of your chart rulers. So if we're going old school and we look at Jupiter, Jupiter is moving into Cancer and it's going to be in Cancer all year. So I want you guys to think back to 2013. That was the last time you saw the Jupiter and Cancer transit. Honestly, in its exaltation, trine your sign in your 5th house, that is pretty damn sweet. So I love this transit for you, and there is going to be a huge emphasis on your 5th house, and we'll talk about that. The salty is that your modern day ruler, Neptune, is now in conjunction to Saturn in the 2nd house of money, resources, and self-esteem. So money stuff gets real. What you want to build, you have to have a clear vision. There needs to be a commitment and a dedication to your goals, and also just feeling very secure with who you are. And then the finale is that you will see Jupiter come into its 3rd and final square with Saturn, but it's also going to square Neptune. So there's kind of remnants of stuff that happened last summer, and then also things that happened around Christmas. Granted, they're squaring in different signs, but you're still impacted by the Jupiter-Saturn square. Saturn wants to kind of commit. Neptune wants to kind of make things confusing or hazy, or you're a little too emotional. And Jupiter is wanting to be optimistic. But we can work with the square by being more committed to what we're building, what we're investing in, being more conscious of what we're spending and our resources if we want to see something grow. So Jupiter in the 5th house could mean a new hobby. It could mean more time with your children. It could mean pregnancy. It could mean that there's more creative time. You're just having to be cautious with how much time, energy, or involvement you're spending on some of these things. So if we take it from the top, starting on the 5th of June, we're going to see in your 3rd house, Venus is going to enter into the sign of Taurus. Now, obviously, Venus is associated with Taurus as well as Libra. So Venus moving into the 3rd house is spending money on gadgets, maybe new cars. It could also mean spending money on short distance trips, spending time with a female neighbor or a sister or a relative, maybe finding pleasure through reading or learning. And this is also great for contracts and negotiations because of Venus's connection to your 11th house, and also just being able to receive, I think, more compliments in, how you're communicating and connecting with people, and being a little bit more proactive in your community. From June 5th onward, for the rest of the month, Venus will be in this part of the sky. Then we move to your 5th house, where it's going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. And honestly, I think that Pisces and Scorpio are really going to like these transits because it's going to be in another sister water sign. So throughout the year, especially this month, but throughout the year, you're going to see Jupiter trining your sun, moon, or rising, depending on what degrees that they're in. And there's just a huge emphasis on the 5th house. So first, Mercury goes into the 5th house, which is going to be the ruler of your relationships, as well as your home and family. So it might mean that you're taking a pregnancy test. You go down to the local bakery and then you meet a cute person and then you guys start talking and they end up being, a significant partner. You go to a local bar or restaurant and you're mixing and you're mingling and then you meet someone. Like, it's going to be something about socializing and entertainment, and having fun and having playtime Those of you guys who are already in relationships, you might be talking about taking things to the next level, living in together, getting married, starting families. For other people, this is a big pregnancy transit because, you have the North Node in your first house ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter's going through the fifth. You're having eclipses in your first house, and you're going to see Jupiter in aspect to your first house. So I'm predicting, just in general, there's going to be a big baby boom. Jupiter in Cancer, a lot of people have kids. We're also going to see with Jupiter in Leo, a lot of people have kids. So you guys might be one of them, especially in the fall when you see the eclipses. But for those of you guys who are like, no kids, not for me, having fun, dating, painting, dancing, creating, and Jupiter is also associated with Sag. So if you're an artist, a performer, a creative, if you're a comedian, there's like an opportunity to be on stage and to be seen. And I think it's a really great transit. So on the 8th, Mercury is there. On the 9th, Jupiter shows up for the year. On the 20th, the sun shows up, putting a spotlight on some of your talent. And then you're going to see the sun conjunct Jupiter on the 24th, which might mean that you're making more time for creativity or that you have a creative breakthrough. And then you're also going to see a new moon in Cancer on the 25th of the month. My goodness, so much Cancerian energy. It's going to be fun. Then you're going to see, in terms of your 6th house, Mars is finally wrapping up its tour through your health, work, routines, kind of area of your chart where maybe you felt like it's been grueling when it comes to getting results in the gym, or that you've been having to work really hard to make ends meet. It's going to be wrapping up, and it will eventually go into your 7th house of relationships. But before it does that, on the 15th of the month, you're going to see Mars and Leo in your 6th house come into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So be careful with communication with siblings. There could be some mixed health results. There could be some challenges with traveling or learning, issues with pets. And I also feel like, this is not a time that you want to be like rushing around. Be careful driving, keep an eye on your cars, make sure that everything is mechanically sound. Sometimes we see things kind of in the late degrees, they break down. Now, after that, on the 17th of the month, for the next 6 weeks, we're going to see Mars lighting up your 7th house of relationships. Mars deals with money, resources, self-esteem, as well as traveling. So if you're somebody who travels for work, you have to meet clients, if you are wanting to put something new on the market, you're selling a product, you're selling a service, it can be really emphasizing, okay, I got to go and meet with people. If you've been wanting to get back into the dating game, if you want to meet someone, this means that you're investing time or energy into your relationships. Some relationships can be difficult and combative, especially existing relationships, or it could also mean that this is with clients. And off the bat, Mars is going to in conjunct or quincunx Mars and Neptune. So it means that there can be some blind spots in terms of communicating prices and also money-related things with clients or with romantic relationships. There can be some friction over like, okay, what you're willing to pay for versus what they're willing to spend. So watch for those blind spots right off the bat. Then you're going to see on the June 11th, a full moon in Sagittarius in your 10th house. And for all the signs, the full moon in Sag is going to create a grand mutable cross. So the full moon is going to be in your career house, which is going to square your North Node in the 1st transit, your South Node in the 7th transit, and it's going to oppose the Sun in the 4th. Wow. Well, planets that square the nodes, they push us out of the past and into the future. So it can be a really significant turning point that's redefining your status. And whether that's who you are out in the world, what you do for a living, how people know you, what your relationship status is, yada, yada. So what's funny is that the full moon's in the 10th house and the ruler Jupiter is in the 5th. So you're going to be telling people, here's my new debut album. Here's my new business. Here's my new stand-up routine. Here's my new boyfriend, girlfriend, or surprise, I'm pregnant. I'm going to be a parent. Something like that's going to happen. And with Mercury and Jupiter in conjunction, it looks like it's actually about some kind of creative collaboration of some kind or some new relationship status that's emerging. Very interesting because Mercury rules the South Node. So it can mean, I reconnected with my long lost love, or, maybe we decided to go our separate ways. I'm doing what's best for me. I don't know, but there's going to be something like that that's going to happen. And it might make major waves. So lots of eyes on you when it comes to that full moon in your 10th. And then obviously Pluto will continue his retrograde in Aquarius as it's going through the 12th house, which is going to be more subconscious. It's behind the scenes. It may not be as obvious for you, and I feel like it's more kind of connecting to deepening some of your spiritual growth, maybe releasing some of your fears. So in a nutshell, the forecast for Pisces and Pisces rising is June is your creative playground. Play, have fun, take chances, fall in love, enjoy Venus going through your third house. It's definitely going to be a time where it can really help you speak more in a poetic kind of sensual nature. I think you're going to be able to charm people or write with ease. Loving all these planets going into your fifth house. I think that this is really fueling romance and art. And the Sun-Jupiter conjunction on the 24th, followed by the 25th, where you have a new moon, is perfect for creative launches. In fact, one of the best of the year. That new moon is very fertile with opportunities to grow your resources or grow your family. Then you're going to be seeing that the full moon on the 11th is definitely spotlighting your career. So take the center stage, lead boldly if you can. You're going to love that Mars is finally leaving your sixth house, where I think you've been just working your butts off. But watch for the disruption in the routines as it squares Uranus on the 15th. And then as it moves into the sixth house, the seventh house around the 17th, it will boost partnerships. And you're going to see that people are going to be showing up that can help you. So you want to see partners, assistants, you want to see coworkers, you want to see spouses who are willing to assist you or help you in some way. And on to Jupiter and his squares. The truth is that on the 15th and the 18th, you might get checked a little bit to see your chart ruler square Saturn in superior position, to see your chart ruler square your other chart ruler, Neptune, wild stuff. What is this about? I think that this is really about fueling inspiration, fifth house, but warning against spending too much, giving too much of yourself away, making too many sacrifices. Doubting yourself. The fifth house wants to create and it wants to play. And Saturn and the Neptune is, and in the second is like, am I good enough? Can I do this? Will it work out? You have to believe. And you have to create more from a sense of creativity, not because there's any expectation that you're going to make a lot of money. Do something because you love it, because it's your passion, right? So my advice is express yourself on the 5th, create on the 24th and 25th, or spend time with your kids or go on a date. Take the spotlight on that full moon and take some quiet time to reflect with Pluto retrograde in your 12th. All right, so let's take a look and let's see. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. What does the tarot have to say for my Pisces and Pisces risings? I get the Queen of Coins. All right, so be on the lookout maybe for like a Taurus, a Capricorn, or even a Virgo. Could be sun, moon, or rising. Could be a woman. Could be you embodying this energy as well. And this is about being generous, being grounded, caring, nurturing. This is also sometimes a homebody. Somebody who's practical, sensible, has good business sense, is comforting, welcoming, and focuses on luxury. Saturn and Neptune in your second house is dreaming of the things you could have. And this is about what you're going to do to be able to kind of create that life. When this card pops up, I really think that it's about being in tune with your values and really focusing on stability and being able to kind of provide for those who you care for. So certainly Saturn in the second house is like more financial responsibility when it comes to children, romantic partners, younger people, money that's going into a creative business even, that's possible. But I think that this can be about making really wise business decisions, financial decisions. With Saturn being and Neptune being in superior square to Jupiter, you're not just going to jump into something without financially coming up with a plan or making sure that you have things in order. Or maybe some of your goals are making you get some of these things in order and approach things in a much more kind of, more well thought out, planned kind of way, right? So I hope that that's helpful for you guys in navigating the month ahead. I'll catch you back here in July. Hello, in July. All right, so that is everything for the June 2025 horoscopes. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. We're seeing a lot of growth in the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider sharing with other people. Share it on your socials if you can for other astro enthusiasts. Don't forget to leave me a comment below and let me know how the month plays out for you, how some of this stuff is manifesting. I love coming back at the end of the month and reading your guys' comments. I get a kick out of them. And any interaction really helps the channel grow. For more about me and my work, you can find me at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Check out the links in the description below if you want to see more on me on my website. Definitely follow me on X at BTV Astro. If you're active on X, you can see my astro ramblings there and connect with me. And I hope you guys enjoy this very magical, abundant month of June. Keep your wits about you, stay focused, stay committed, don't doubt yourselves, and believe in some of the growth that's coming with Jupiter in Cancer. I believe it's the best month of the entire year. Until next time, I'll catch all of you very soon, and you guys take care.